Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. I am joined with somebody else today. Not Matt, not Sage.
Hi.
Hi, Crimson. How you doing, buddy?
No, I'm doing all right. Like I said, alcohol and NyQuil are not a recommended concoction. I tranquilized myself by accident last night.
It's literally the office meme. They're the same picture.
No, no, no. You're. I don't think that. I took them both together without thinking because I
I
was drunk.
I know, but I'm saying they're practically the same thing. They both make you black out. So, yes, but we are here for Crimson's infamous experience on Twitter.
I mean, there's a lot of infamous experiences on Twitter, but the one in particular, I guess we're talking about is the censorship stuff lately.
Well, two things, but yes. So
Well, they're
we
kind of both related, aren't they? Like they're
they
both
are
the
related. That's why we're
censorship stuff.
talking about them in the same one. But no, we have a fun, hopefully fun. I mean, so it's fun for me because I get to chat with people and cover fun topics. It's not really that fun, but
It's not fun, but it's something I think everyone should be a little bit more passionate about.
yeah. Idiocy is definitely something on the internet we need less of, but we have way too much of. So it'll take a long time to reduce that.
Hey man, I turn idiocy into content, okay?
Well, obviously me too, because that's why we're
Yeah,
here.
that's why you invited me on. You're turning my idiocy
I'm
into
like,
content, right?
Crimson, I need idiocy. Come on my channel. It works, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand.
All right.
All right, so we'll just jump into it. Um, you got something to say first?
No, I was gonna say, do we want to start with a little bit of like a prerequisite as to like what all this pertains to, like some of the like background information on why some of this stuff like I started
Do you want me to
tweeting out
pull
and
it
stuff.
up so that you know which one I'm looking at first?
You can.
Ta-da!
Okay, so yeah, this just to like quickly summarize, this is particularly in response to the current censorship efforts that are going on throughout the world. It started like two
Specifically,
weeks.
Britain, I think, is the big one.
Well, no, it's okay. So it starts with
Or are you in
collective shout, and they're petitioning of Visa and
the
Mastercard
payment processor?
to delist games that they don't like, which has included popular indie horror games like Mouthwashing and RPGs like Fear and Hunger that are do contain some sensitive material, but they're not done in a way like if you're familiar with the mobile game Kick the Buddy. It's not done in a way where you're sitting there torturing a little doll that can't escape from you the whole time.
I can't say I have played or heard of that one, but
Good because the whole, like I said, the whole point of the game is to just sit there and torture something that can't escape from you.
why would I play a video game when I can do that in real life? In Minecraft.
True, but it was something like it's not there specifically so that you can enjoy the awful terrible thing that's happening. It's there because the awful terrible thing that happens is either like part of like the whole story of it. Like it's done by a villain or it's done by enemies within the game.
Well,
Okay.
there's a story, there's a plot line, there's
Hmm.
I mean,
Bad people
how
do bad things.
I mean, shocking, but um, it's a very it's probably on a more limited scale than say like a book series or something.
Hmm.
It's not going to have some grandiose type thing. Kind of like Slender Man was never really grandiose. It was go find like 11 pieces of
Yeah,
paper and then that was it.
but
Don't get caught. That's basically it.
the point I'm trying to make here is effectively that um it started with what is usually the well-meaning platitudes of everyone who wants to control everything that everyone else does. We're going to protect people from this harmful content, and it went and got a bunch of unrelated unnecessarily targeted things involved. So people revolted against that not long after the payment processor thing happened. And by the way, the games one, this is not the first time Visa and MasterCard have done this. They've done it to manga and anime distributors
They've
for
also done it.
having,
There's also done it to Second Amendment groups and
yeah.
gun
So
companies.
this is a repeated problem with these payment processors.
It's a company trying to overstepped their platform, because it's
Hmm.
kind of like when you have social media platforms and whatnot being like, well, we just want to be a platform for people to be on, and then they're like, okay, well, you can just be a person who hosts, or you can be the person who interacts with, and if you become a person who interacts with, you lose these protections because you're not going to get covered if you just let people post stuff. Then people are personally responsible in each of their own little things. But they're like, no, 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 we want to play in that playground along with it. We want to control what's in the playground rather than just allowing people to be on the playground.
They can't
And
pick between platform or publishers, basically.
basically, yes, that'd be the easy way to say it. Well, I don't say it the easy way because that's just not how I work. But
I'm used to trying to take things just because of my job and condense them down into palatable um,
I usually can do that.
formats for people who may not keep up with all of the stuff. So that's just a
Yeah,
habit of mine.
I typically do that myself. It's just I'm familiar with the publisher versus platform thing, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna give it to the how annoyingly obnoxious the system is to begin with. So I was gonna make it as complicated as possible. So it just explains how stupid the situation is. But anyway, continue with the.
Yeah, so after the payment processor stuff happened, the UK then published its Online Child Safety Act. I forget exactly what it's called, but the premise behind it is they're going to protect children from harmful content online. Particularly, I'll be nice to the channel. I'll say corn. Okay.
Corn on the cob of what is it? I came up with a term with Matt. It was what is it? Oh yeah, corn on the cobraphy.
Hmm.
It just like
Yeah.
took cornography and turned it into corn on the cobography.
So either way, that was the premise of it, and it was going to require the UK does require now a digital ID, which requires you to submit face scans and your actual like government like license and all that stuff to get online to ensure that you're not accessing content that you're not supposed to.
That
And
they don't let you.
obviously, the government, in all of their benevolence, is never going to abuse this power for anything negative, right?
They just
Except for
wanted to.
when they
They're looking out
immediately
for you.
except for when they immediately established a task force to monitor anti-immigration sentiments online right after the bill.
Yeah,
So
and it's
that
not like those
happened.
anti-immigration sentiments came out of the blue.
Yeah, maybe it has
It just came
something
out
to
of the
do with
vacuum.
all of the grooming gangs that were causing problems.
Ironically, they have the UK Child Safety Protection Act thingy or whatever,
I was getting
and
to that.
and
Yeah.
and then and then it's like these anti-immigration sentiments. You mean the child safety groups? Like,
You mean people who are
it's-
concerned for their children because you won't do a thing about predators who actually prey on them? Yeah. So it does the story unfortunately does not end there. It has now come across to the U.S. where we have found out back in May, Congress actually has put to the floor a similar bill that's going to require digital ID to go online. Fortunately, one of the good turns in this is that the Trump administration has already started to blast the UK for their position on restricting free speech. So it looks like this may be a thing. And many online forums have started taking to en masse calling into their representatives and to payment processors to
I made a
voice
video
their
on that one.
discontent.
That video's coming out tomorrow.
Oh, the payment processor stuff,
Yeah,
like with
one of
all
them.
like the stories of people telling like their interactions and stuff with
The
the call
call in
centers.
ones. Yeah, the call center ones. I have a video coming out tomorrow for that.
So with all this said, there has been a lot of dialogue going back and forth over this issue because a lot of people will look at it and be like, "Oh, well, it bans content that I don't like anyway. It is, the corn on the cob stuff. It is all this awful, terrible stuff and all that." And I'm like, first of all, sure, you can morally object to that, but you clearly have no like knowledge of history if you think that the government is the one that should be the moral arbiter in this case. And that's where this comes from.
To say,
So
do you
this
want to
was
just go ahead and read it since
yeah,
it's
so
your
this
words anyway?
if you want to scroll down to
Yeah.
the bot like the bot the
Oh
image
yeah.
that starts all this. So this person, I cropped it out because I didn't want like, the attention or anything from like quote tweeting them. I
It was
wasn't gonna
Melanie
go.
Mack, wasn't
It was not.
it? That's just
Although I really
it's just stupid
yeah.
nowadays.
So either way, this person tweeted out reminder that none of these people, and he says people like they're not actually
You're not
people.
actually a
Like
person.
I'm not a real person concerned about censorship, cared when the right was being censored. Now, I will tell you, I got like really invested in stuff online because of the 2016 elections and everything that happened around what uh the powers that be did to conservative commentators and to right wingers on the internet around that time, where you could see obvious, foul play. There was a lot of false stuff published, and yeah. So I cared. I was talking about it all the way back then. You can talk to my friends and family about how political I was back in that time. Um, so they're asserting that we only care when it affects our addictions, basically.
Gooning.
Hmm. Which is completely untrue because I have fairly consistently been against the idea of anyone using any form of power to shut people up. I think it's a scummy practice.
Well, it's the principle that whatever they can do for you, they can do against you. So
Hmm.
if they shut down the people you dislike, that means they can also shut you down.
Yes,
So
if you wouldn't want the power used against you, do not give the power to someone else.
yep, and that's pretty much a standard take, and it shouldn't be very controversial. That whatever you, it's literally the golden rule: do as
Hmm.
they have do it done unto you. It's just like whatever you do to somebody else, they have the power to do to you. So it's just kind of like, or we just don't do that, and then we sing kumbaya, I suppose. But we'll go back to the top so you can just read it
Yes.
yourself.
So I was in a particular mood that day when I started this. So my response was effectively,
Drunk?
"Here I am." No, just frustrated with everyone who is so pro censorship in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
whole
that's true.
discussion. So here I am, someone who has long been concerned with censorship of any kind. Someone who wholeheartedly believes that it is not the government's job to regulate the morality of the country, but to step in to ensure that justice is served when harm is done, or to act to prevent harm to its citizens. Someone who sees the pattern that giving up liberty for safety is a surefire way to lose both. I believe that's a Ben Franklin quote, or
Yeah,
he who would trade a little liberty for a little safety
security. Yeah, deserves
deserves neither
neither.
and shall lose both.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've used that one. So, someone who knows that policy like the Patriot Act has nothing to do with patriotism or protecting the people and is not more than overreach wrapped in digestible platitudes. Effectively, it may seem like oh, well, they're just going to use it for the right purposes, but the government very rarely ever sticks to just using something for the right purposes if they ever intend to do that at all.
yeah.
I mean, if you want to look at it, or if you want to, look at history, look how they treated the Native Americans. Look at the Tuskegee Institute or the Tuskegee experiment, like MK Ultra, the CIA injecting crack cocaine into inner city black communities so that they could raise funds for their black ops programs.
It sounds like a Black Ops game.
Yeah, dude, the government should not ever be trusted. I don't know why people do.
Because people aren't that intelligent, sadly.
So someone who compartmentalizes things he deems immoral and things he deems illegal, and in spite of not liking something, can still defend its existence. There are plenty of things that I personally don't like that I will still say shouldn't be illegal, like smoking. I don't like smoking. I don't think people should be banned from smoking, though.
I mean, what are they gonna do? Stop me from smoking?
So yeah, someone who would rather err on the side of liberty than safety. Sorry, I oppose this course of action not because I'm so pro Gooner that I can't stand the thought,
You guys can clip
nor
that.
do nor do I oppose it because I view corn as a good thing. I oppose it out of a principled distrust for the government and their history of not having the average man's best interest in mind. Less than a decade ago, we'd have called out this kind of policy for the tactic of making an expansion of state control sound common sense with the title like Online Safety Act. Now people are okay with it because it doesn't matter to them anymore. Spite mine enemies is not a solid moral foundation. That's
Here,
effectively
here.
what this guy was getting at is, well, they didn't care about when it happened to me, therefore I shouldn't care at all when it comes for them.
Which is funny because it's not like, in terms of the internet usage, it's going to be the same people who got targeted the first time,
Hmm.
as well as the people who didn't get targeted. So this isn't a, oh, well, you're just doing this to goon. It's like, or it's bad for everyone equally, and we shouldn't want this.
Well,
Because,
this pretty clearly lays out the position I have on this, so it's not like I really need to elaborate a ton on it. But I don't see why people can't look at something and be like, first of all, like I can't look at something and see the government has a history of just ignoring what it's supposed to be doing and violating people's rights. So why let's just you know just not trust them with more and more power to be the moral
well,
arbiter
well,
when it's supposed to be people themselves controlling their own morals.
it's even worse than that, because like the government will be like, well, this could be federal or state level or even city level. Um, they're like, well, we don't have time to look into these murders and assaults and rapists and all that type of stuff because we got to hunt down the people who have marijuana. And you're like, you're joking, right? Like, you might not agree with marijuana, but it's on a very small spectrum compared to murder, grape,
Yeah, no,
liver beet
like the
process. You're
smell
like,
of weed puts me into like a feral rage sort of mindset. But I don't want to. I'm less concerned about people smoking weed in my area, even though it is legal here in Illinois.
well, it's not.
Than
It's
I
not that.
am.
It's just like when they consider weed to be a bigger concern than murder or grape or
Mhm.
any assault, abuse, theft,
No,
robbery. They're like, we're going to put weed at the top. We just don't have the manpower to chase all the weed people and do the important things. I mean, unimportant things. Yeah. It's like, it's
yeah,
just,
no,
oh my
that's
God.
kind of the point I was getting at is
Ah,
I'm less concerned about the dude smoking weed down the street from me who I have to deal with than the person who abducts and does awful things to kids, okay? Like
yeah. And,
I am more I'm more
unfortunately, we're not
concerned
allowed
with
to bounty
actually
hunter
protecting the
ourselves.
I am more concerned with actually protecting the children. Gee,
Well,
why would that
if
be?
you lived in the UK, you would be arrested for anti-immigration sentiment. Isn't that great?
I mean, we already saw with Count Dankula getting arrested for the whole pug joke. I don't know, back in like 2017. What was that?
Oh, the Nazi salute he taught us. It's like,
Yeah, he
a pug
as a
can't even do a proper salute. Come on, like it's not even that
like
big.
the whole joke was that it's supposed to not be a cute thing. Like he was making a joke, like I'm going to teach it to do the most evil thing I know it can do,
And it does it the
just to
most
prove
adorableness.
just so I can prove that pugs are not cute.
And then he makes the adorable pug cute, doing the bad thing. But
Anyway,
but yeah, I would say like my stance on censorship has always been like the beginning starter, the foundation. Morality and legality are not the same thing. You can make a legal argument in favor of a moral thing, such as murder is wrong, period. But then we have to define what murder is, and the easiest way to define murder is the ending of a life of an innocent by an aggressor. That's the easiest way to do it. And then there's obviously the different degrees, and they have different more specifics. And there's accidental, like manslaughter and all that kind of stuff, which all sucks. But it's one of those things where like accident means accident, but it's not like, I'm not
mhm.
talking accidental as in I fell asleep at the wheel and I crushed someone's minivan. I'm talking like, you know, you trip and you fall in
Well,
front of a vehicle that's already moving, and then they get like
yeah,
manslaughter. It's like, they don't get manslaughter. They didn't do it on purpose. They didn't even do it on accident. It literally happened from somebody else's actions.
that's generally why I tend to look at like what the government should be doing and what it should be taking care of in terms of like are people actually getting harmed by something?
Well, yeah,
Like
that's the
in the
libertarian
case
mindset. Yeah.
like in the case of, actual murder, someone's being harmed there. Or we can even go to the point of like what this all is about, like with the corn situation. Like there are certain issues within that industry that do really need to be addressed.
There's
Like
a lot of
there's
issues.
some awful stuff in there, like
Yeah.
that people just conveniently like to ignore. That is illegal. That does involve actually harming people. Um, but the very concept of it, like if you're going to approach it from the purely like libertarian, like ignore everything that could possibly go wrong with it. Let's just deal with the concept and the theoretical of it, right?
Yeah.
You're going to approach it from that angle. Why shouldn't, legally speaking, two adults who consent to something be able to film themselves doing something and then sell it? As much as I
Well, I
morally
mean, you
oppose
can
the
because you recorded it. If you didn't record it, that would be prostitution.
again, again, it's like I'm morally against it. Yeah, I have certain moral qualms with it. Like, the, so what? But my morality isn't something that I think should
Well,
specifically
we'll get to
be
that particular moral.
legality.
We'll get to that moral argument when we get to the next tweet. But for this, I want to point out the difference between legality and morality, because people say, well, you can't legislate morality. I'm like, well, you can, but only for like objective things. You can't do it for subjective things. You can't say,
You also need it to be a common moral of an entire an area.
well,
Like
yeah.
if you're going to make it a law across the nation, you need a majority of that nation at your backing for that to be a thing. I do not think there is a common morality strong enough in the United States to support this sort of law.
Well, it's like, and that's the problem with like legality, because from my humble opinion, and I don't really get political because I don't really care for it, but my humble opinion, the less laws you have, the better, because the more laws you have, the more criminals you make. Keyword being make. Because every single day, with just the laws we have now, every person commits like at least 6 crimes every single day that you're not even necessarily aware of. You just happen to do that, and they just don't pursue it. But the laws are on the books. So if they decided one day to take you up on that offer, well, guess what? Sucks to be you. And it's like, well, you've been doing the same thing for the last 24 years, so that's 24 times 6. That's what we're going to nail you to the wall with, because they can, because that's the way government operates. Now, I will agree with Crimson when it comes to, just because I morally disagree with something does not mean I don't think people shouldn't have the ability to do it. I don't want them to do it necessarily. Depends on what it is, honestly. Because I don't want people to be Cowboys fans, but here we are.
I don't want people to cheat on their partners, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's something that should be illegal.
Well, because if you make it illegal, then it becomes the government's job to basically say,
Yeah,
well,
you have now given the
di-
government the
well,
the authority
it,
to monitor that aspect of a life.
not even that. I'm talking like, even if government didn't, if they just chose not to, who says that your spouse isn't going to just lie about it? You get thrown under the bus, go to prison for it. They divorce you, and then now they have all your stuff. Now they have the kids. Then you come out of prison, however many years later, and you have nothing. Like the clothes on your back, that's what you got. They got the house, they got the cars, they got the dogs, they got the cats, they got the kids, they got everything. Everyone around you and your family hates you because you're a scumbag to them. Everything can go wrong, all because it's illegal and they could do it. Like some of the stuff
Oh,
isn't even
and
illegal.
now you have a criminal record too,
That too, which
and
is
that's going
gonna
to affect your job prospects.
which is
And
gonna shaft you in a lot of ways, and that's all because somebody lies. And we even know that from certain instances, a girl can lie about somebody. Like there was one instance, I'm trying to remember what it was, but basically this girl was lying to her mom because she got caught like looking at online porn or something like that. And she's like, "Oh, this guy introduced it." The guy was in a different state, and they convicted him of
well,
doing this because she's a minor. And then later on, they find out she lies. She gets like community service, but they don't let the guy out. And it's just like,
yeah, well, look at
it's
this
all
has happened
stupid.
twice to MLB, I think, where dudes have basically, hooked up with a chick, like a single dude hooks up with a chick, and she tries to frame him for grape. Now, the mistake is
Now,
that
are you saying
she
MLB isn't Major League Baseball? Or
yes,
okay,
Major League
gotcha.
Baseball. There was a guy who basically he was with the Dodgers. You could probably find this story. It was very, very prominent. But he got framed for grape. And fortunately, he was able to clear his name, but none of his prospects from his like all the like deals he had and stuff came back. He ultimately ended up going over to Japan to play
Is it
because
Trevor
they
Bauer?
actually, that sounds correct. Yes.
Okay.
I think there were two cases like that. But Trevor Bauer sounds correct because
He's a
it
Dodgers pitcher.
yeah, it was a ridiculous circus of a situation. And yeah, that's one of the things that people don't seem to realize. Like people, this is one of the big things that like has caused a lot of the dispute over this is people have kind of lost the ability to reason through a problem like this. Like even you've brought up things that like are angles to this that I haven't considered and might push back on some of the things we'll say later in the video because there are things that I don't consider. But like I don't see why personally, like I have my own moral code that I operate on. I don't see why that should be like in every instance applicable to everyone else. There are certain things I do think there should like the government has like a completely justifiable reason to be involved.
We'll jump to this.
Like yeah.
So, woman who accused Trevor Bauer of ex-say assault A is now charged with defrauding ex-MLB player. An Arizona woman who accused former Major League pitcher Trevor Bauer of bad stuff has been charged with defrauding the baseball player. An indictment unsealed Monday in Maricopa County Superior Court charges the woman with fraud and theft by extortion, both felonies, but doesn't provide specific details about the alleged crimes. It says Bauer and one other person were defrauded in a scheme that potentially spanned several years. The Associated Press does not typically identify people who say they have been victims of bad stuff unless they come forward publicly. Well, I mean, it doesn't stop you from literally anybody else. Um, the woman sued Bauer in December 2022, accusing him of grape 2 years earlier that said resulted in a pregnancy in late 2020. Court records on Tuesday afternoon didn't list an attorney for the woman in the fraud case, and the lawyer representing her in the lawsuit didn't immediately respond to phone message seeking additional comment. Of course, they never do. Bauer was never arrested or even charged. He countersued, saying he had one consensual sexy time encounter with the woman in 2020 and then accused her of faking pregnancy to extort money from him. His attorneys have said that the woman made several $1 million demands against him. Well, of course, he's an MLB player.
Mm-hmm.
Bauer said he ultimately paid $8,761 for expenses he believed to be related to the woman's reported pregnancy and its subsequent termination. The woman later said she ultimately decided not to terminate the pregnancy but had a miscarriage. She is scheduled to be arraigned for criminal charges next Friday, which this is probably old news, so it won't be that way. In a record video statement released Tuesday, Bauer said he is innocent. What else do I have to do to prove this entire situation is a massive lie? This is insane, he said. At what point do I get to go back to work and continue earning a living? Bauer has been trying to revive his major league career after serving a suspension for violating the league's domestic violence, bad assault, and somehow kiddo beady up policy. He was suspended after another woman accused him of beating and bad thing her. An accusation the pitcher also denies. And then he was released from the Dodgers because of this in January 2023 and played last year with the Yokohama DNA Bay Stars. That's a weird way to write that, but okay. Japan's Pacific League. He signed a deal this spring to pitch 5 games for Mexico's Diablos Rojos. I think that's how you say that. And made his first appearance in a spring exhibition against the New York Yankees. So the funny thing about all this, it's kind of his fault. He tried to do the whole one night fling thing, which from a moral
Well,
perspective he probably shouldn't have, and if he
yeah.
hadn't, none of this would have happened for
Well,
this perspective.
in the he actually released a video like going over his side of the story, and he had the screenshots from however the legal proceeding went
The
of
court.
her whole her the woman in this. She had conversations about how she was planning from the beginning to do all this to him.
Yeah, that should
She
be
was
a
like, I
nail in
need,
the
she
coffin.
was basically talking like, I'm going to sleep with him, get photos and everything. And then, I'm going to sleep with him and then pretend like he assaulted me and try and blackmail him and all that. And her friend is like, like egging this on, encouraging it.
You
And
go,
she even
girl,
took,
slay.
yeah, she even took her, like her photos of herself next to him in bed, like the morning after, like he's still asleep and everything.
Yeah.
which pretty incriminating on her end, to be entirely honest.
Well, yeah, that's a closed shut case right there. But what my point is that if he was to follow, say, a moral code and not have a one night stand fling thingy with somebody, he wouldn't be in this scenario to begin with. If he had found
True.
somebody, married them, and then had all the sexy time he wanted to do, he wouldn't be in this mess. But because he decided to go this route, it's kind of coming after him to bite him in the butt. And this is kind of the thing with like college fraternities and all that kind of stuff, where it's kind of a reoccurring theme, and you kind of probably should have known this was going to happen. This is why a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm not going to be in a room alone with a woman because who knows what could come out of this. And I'm not going to be accused of this and all that jazz. Which is why everyone, like when Pence was in office, he was never in a room alone with a woman. He always had people with him and everything. And everyone's like, he said he'd never do that unless he's in the room with his wife. And everyone's like, why is he doing that? That sounds sexist. It's like, no, the guy's covering his rear end because this kind of stuff happens. Whether you like Pence or not, that's a smart move.
No, it's again, you're entirely correct. Like having a moral code would have spared you the consequences of, all of this stuff. It would have protected you from someone else's deception and intent to exploit you.
Yeah, and then apparently somebody else was trying to claim that he was like abusing her or something. I'm trying to remember where I found it in this thing. Oh yeah, he was suspended after another woman accused him of beating and bad time or bad thingies to her.
Hmm.
But he also denies it. It's like, well, if you're not with these people, because if you're a professional sports player or anybody of particular renown, people are going to hunt and target you. It's just how it's going to be. No one's coming to come after me. I ain't got nothing for them. Like, so I don't have to worry about it. But like, let's say one day I turn into a millionaire. Well, people by definition, if they find out I'm a millionaire, they're going to come after me because they think they can get some of that money. And I mean, it's the same thing as like when somebody wins the lottery ticket, somebody goes out there and says, oh, well, I've been helping you out all these years, so you can help me out now. It's like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, and they want some of that green kind of a thing. And they'll come out of the woodwork, which is why if you ever do become a millionaire, don't tell anybody. If you win the lottery, don't tell anybody. You can quietly fix your house, maybe move to a little bit nicer house, but I would never recommend going mansion level because, I mean, one, everybody knows then. Two, it's also a massive expense you don't necessarily need. But if you do that, it's like, hey, people aren't going to behave differently with you. And the same thing is like, let's say you're a single guy who has a lot of Bitcoin. And now people know what Bitcoin is. People know how much money you have. If you have like, yeah, I've got like,
Hey,
70,000.
that's why I have an Android. Apparently, they have a built-in gold digger filter. You pull one of these out on a first date, she'll leave you.
It's like, woo, dodge that bullet. I'll pay in Bitcoin.
Exactly.
But yeah, like let's say you have like 70,000 Bitcoin and each one of those is like 30K, right? People will come for you. That like they're going to this is really whiting my face out and I'm already white as it is.
That's why I have a yellow light over here.
I can't do yellow light. I hate it. I do daylights. I'm a vampire. I like if I wasn't recording, it'd be pitch black in here. Like I can't do that. But I also can't show you my cool collection of all this cool stuff if I am, black. But anyway, if you had all that Bitcoin or something, somebody out there's gonna be like, oh, I can fake it. I can, get into his good graces. I can suffer for a little bit, and then maybe I get him to put a ring on it, and then I divorce him and take half of his Bitcoin. I'll never have to work a day in my life. It's like it's a mentality. It's the kind of mentality that kills kindness. It's the kind of mentality that kills generosity, the charity and stuff, because people take advantage because they want to not work. They want somebody else to take care of them. They don't want to like they're actively trying to.
They're unscrupulous and immoral, and they're perfectly
Yes.
willing to exploit you for your kindness.
Yes, they're very exploitative. And there's a difference. It's like you can go to like watch Korean dramas and they have this guy who's like actually like a CEO of a corporation and he's showing up, but he's not dressed like a CEO of a corporation. He goes to dates and stuff where he doesn't want them to love him for his money. he wants them to love him for him, but he also needs to like kind of ease them into the fact that he does have money. He does have a company because he wants that to not be the thing. So that's why he ends up usually with like the outer city girl, like the girl who's like in a farm or something, who doesn't care about somebody's wealth. She just likes a man who's hardworking. She likes a man who cares about her. She likes a man that wants to, go on a farm and plant a bunch of crops for the next harvest or something because he's down to earth kind of a thing. Whether or not he actually is, but he could become that because he's not looking at taking anything from her. But at the same side, she's not trying to take things from him. But if they end up like getting close together, eventually bound to come out, and then there's maybe a fallout. Maybe she is like, you've been lying to me this entire time. But it's like, yeah, but he has a reason. He wants you to be you, not somebody who's trying to, be a gold digger. And it always ends well. Like the guy gets the girl in the end and all that stuff because TV and stories. But she's not looking to exploit him. He has to kind of exploit the trust a little bit because there's no way to say, I don't have any money or I'm not as wealthy as I actually am in order to get an honest conversation. Because if that was the case, like for example, let's say his parents are like, oh, my son's the CEO of this company, he's a multi-millionaire if not a billionaire, and he's on the market. All of a sudden he's going to have people lining up trying to go on dates with him, trying to get into his pockets. That's just how it is because people will want to exploit because of their own gain. That's a natural tendency. But when we had things like philanthropy, philanthropy took care of everything before taxes killed us. Like, I mean, prior to the
Well, and
1920s, we were really
the
good.
taxes came about because people gave up their moral responsibility to care for each other.
Yeah. And then communities stopped working together, like neighborhoods. They stopped looking after each other's kids, looking after each other's stuff, because one unscrupulous person can come into the neighborhood and start taking things from other people and then trying to sell them to make some money or whatever the case is. It only takes one for people to become distrustful because now they have to lock their doors. When I was a kid, we didn't have to lock our doors. Now, you don't leave the house without locking your doors, making sure your windows are locked, making sure that you got security cameras and you got everything like keeping your house on lockdown because that's everything you have in that house. So, we didn't have to do that. The reason that is there is because there are people who don't care about the law because they don't have morals and they don't care about legality, which kind of gets us back to the point. I'm a very long-winded, I'll get there eventually circle thing. But that's the kind of people we disagree with from a moral perspective. And I think legally wise, we're already protected from people who are trying to defraud or to steal or to murder or harm or something like that. But those are the basic necessities. But now it's like people are trying to throw more at the government, say, take more of my personal responsibility and have the government do it for me because I'm too much of an imbecile to just do the bare minimum for me to maintain my
Mhm.
humanity.
And a lot of I think a lot of this recent push to like using this particular issue to try and put expand government power and like control over people's lives comes from the fact that parents just don't monitor their kids as much anymore. And like I've even seen this from my friend circle where like I used to play quite a bit of Magic the Gathering, don't much anymore because I spend a lot of my time doing other stuff. But
Now I want to play with you, dadgummit.
one guy would basically sit his daughter off in the corner with an iPad for the like every time we were over there, he'd just like give his daughter the iPad and like have her go sit in the corner, and that's like all she would do the whole time. I'm sitting there like, is this really what parenting has become? Like you sit there and you hand your kid the mobile device and let them go to town. Of course, I've seen other people who don't do that, who actually take their kids outside and like make them play with actual toys and stuff.
Actual toys as
They
opposed to
actually
not actual
are
toys.
they actually like are invested in their kids' lives. That's what like things used to be, and that's why we didn't have a lot of these issues is because parents were actually like actively invested in what their kids were doing
Well,
rather than just being concerned with, oh well, they're not in my hair, therefore it's a good thing.
as a parent of two boys, um, I try to do with my oldest, I try to do as much as I can, but the world has changed and I've observed this change. It's no longer safe for me to take my kid to like random places that I used to enjoy as a kid back in like the 90s or whatever, and enjoy those things without running into unscrupulous people. They're much more common now. Um, I don't like when people swear around my kid because he learns words fast. He's in the I hear something and I immediately adopt that, whatever that is.
I've gotten into that conflict with some of my family as well because I swear like a sailor at times, and
I've noticed.
there are plenty of kids around when it is a family gathering.
Yeah, and it's
So I constantly get the, hey, don't say that. I'm like, all right, shit, sorry.
did you see it right there? He's like, oh dang it! He's like, ah, dang it. Oh my god, I'm sorry. He's like, start tripping over your own tongue, like in this big run-on sentence of just you swearing and apologizing at the same time. But yeah, and that's the kind of thing. It's just like when I have my buddies come over and we play games or something, and my son comes down and like wants to see what we're doing. I kind of like, please don't swear around my kid. Like, it's asking a lot because even when like they're like sure, and then they do what you do, or they just kind of like slip up, and I'm just like, oh, I have to be like, you need to go upstairs, buddy. You need to go upstairs. Like, you can't be here for this. And it makes
Well,
things
no,
difficult.
you're taking but there though you're taking a moral responsibility for like what your kids are exposed to.
Well, yes, but that's the thing is like I can't just invite the neighbors over because they smoke weed, they swear, their habits and what they allow and disallow are totally different than mine. So it's like I can't do these certain things that other parents would back in the 90s. Like it was much simpler back in the day. I didn't have to worry about somebody trying to nab my kid off the street as much because we had a nice little neighborhood and all that kind of stuff. Um, but at the same time, I have a tablet. I let him play games, mostly brain games, to help him get, intellectually stimulated and whatnot. But he likes to watch Shaun the Sheep and all that
Yeah.
stuff on it too. And we'll take it for drives because when we go see the in-laws and we're driving for 7 hours, not a whole lot to do in the car.
It's not like the tablet or anything is a bad thing
Yeah,
for like a little
yeah.
bit.
It's just
It's
people
one of
use
those things
that
for like,
as a parental replacement. Like I don't have
yeah,
to be a parent by giving them this.
that was
And
effectively my point is
yeah,
people think that they can get away from the responsibility of being a parent
yeah.
by just, relying on the tablet because it keeps the child, distracted.
Well, it doesn't help that people have replaced their responsibility as a parent with the state. That's why they put them in public schools. It's like, okay, well, you should be in charge of your kid's education because I worked at a public school. That's not a place I'm sending my kid. Sorry. It's just not going to be that case. Like it was bad. And we're talking anywhere from like middle school all the way up to upper high school. And it was just, those kids have no boundaries.
Have you
They
seen
act out.
the literacy rates in the United
Oh,
States?
it's atrocious.
They're horrifying.
I will
They're
say,
horrifying.
for all you homeschool guys, represent. Like we made it out alive and much better off. But
Mhm.
that's something like, there's things like, have you ever heard of the Tuttle Twins? Probably not because you don't have kids, but maybe. Do you know Angel Studios?
I know Angel Studios. I've seen
So
a couple of the
Angel
projects. Sound of
Studios,
Freedom, all that kind of stuff.
yeah. Well, Angel Studios published the Tuttle Twins thing. It's think of like Magic School Bus, but like libertarian mode.
Hmm.
So like this little old grandma, Mexican
So
grandma.
they're taking kids to Killdozer, huh?
Not quite. They're teaching kids about taxation without representation. They're teaching about the founding fathers and stuff like that. They're teaching about your liberties and rights because the guy who wrote it for his kids, and he's a lawyer, and he wants his kids to, and his kids are adorable, because they were in the early ads and marketing, and it was just like, oh, that's so adorable. But no, he wanted them to understand, like, you have constitutional rights, you have these type of things, and like, you probably heard the story about like the guy who's teaching his kid about taxes, so then he gets them ice cream cones and then he takes a big old bite out of each of them and says, that's your tax. And they're like, I don't like that. And it's like, yep, welcome to taxation.
My favorite is
But
the one where the dude is like, my little brother just got his first ever paycheck, and it's just a couple of screenshots of the kid looking at it and like realizing how much was deducted for taxes.
oh yeah, he's just like, another libertarian born. But yeah, and it's they did that kind of a thing. They have a cartoon, they have a book series, they've got activities and all that stuff, which I convinced my dad to buy, ironically, for the kids, even though they weren't that old at the time. But they've even got stuff for teenagers and whatnot. It's like it helps them understand certain things, but that's you as a parent teaching them this stuff in a way that the kids can understand it, so that when they get older, they can protect themselves. They can take care of themselves, even if they're still in high school or even in middle school, where somebody's like threatening them with extortion. It's like, well, you can't extort me because I'm in the law. This, rattle off all the different laws that protect them from that. It's like it's to help them learn things that I personally found extremely boring growing up in a way that's actually fun for kids. And personally, while I enjoyed Magic School Bus, this is way more important than Magical School Bus. And
Yeah, I don't need
it's
to
also very
look. I don't need
humorous.
to know what the inside of someone's colon looks like because they swallowed some gum. Okay.
I'm sensing some prior experience. That wasn't gum, Jimmy. Anyway, but yeah, it's like that kind of stuff. It's like as a parent, you're responsible for your kids' education, and if a school's teaching them something that you don't want them to know, because like some schools actively tell the kids, "Don't tell your parents about this." It's like you want them to not what now? Tell me something, really? And like, that should be like the biggest red flag. That has more red flags than China. Like that's bad. Like you should not be doing that. You should be pulling your kid out right then and there. And yeah, homeschooling is
Don't tell
hard.
your parents this as the Soviet anthem blasts over the intercom system.
I don't know. I feel like the Soviets would have more respect for your child, but that's a different story. But it's like if the things I want to do, like the other day, I have the Spider-Man game came out a couple years ago, not Spider-Man 2, but the first one, and my kids have been really into Spider-Man, and I made the mistake of wearing my Venom shirt, and he keeps asking who it is, and I keep telling him his name, and he keeps forgetting like 10 seconds after I tell him, and and yeah, he's a fun little kid. He's 4 years old, and he's already up to my elbow. It's terrifying, and I'm not a small guy, so but basically, I got him this book where it's like just a storybook for kids for Peter Parker, Spider Man, going and like interacting with like the Lizard Man, Electro, Rhino, all that kind of stuff, but also with like good people. And on the very back, it's Venom, and he is just hugging that book all the time now. And he's like, "Who's this guy? Who's this guy?" And I'm just like, "What have I done?" Because I like Venom. Um, And so I told him we could play the Spider-Man game together because I was like, it's Spider-Man. What could possibly go wrong? And all of a sudden, just swearing starts. I'm like, what the frick, guys? Come on, like really? Like just because it can doesn't mean it should. It doesn't really hold the purpose. Like they're not going the full way like Punisher, where everything's an F
You know
bomb.
what? Maybe we're gonna introduce you to the '90s Spider-Man cartoon.
I mean, thankfully he wasn't paying attention. He was too like absorbed with Spider-Man existing. Um, and it's literally just Assassin's Creed, but Spider-Man. That's literally it. And it's just kind of like that sounds really boring. I grew up on the old school like PC game Spider-Man, the old school N64 and all that stuff. Yeah, that's what I got. I'm pretty sure I still have that somewhere. I have to find it. But we played it for like 2 hours, and he keeps asking, "Where's Venom? Where's Venom? Where's Venom?" I'm like, I don't know. I've never played this game before. But we played it. It's something we can do together that is more or less safe for him. And like I've been struggling with like even when to introduce him to things like Stargate or Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, more importantly, because a lot of people they're like, yeah, I let my 3-year-old watch Lord of the Rings. I'm like, what the frick is wrong with you? I had
Yeah,
nightmares at 11 when I watched
I
that.
was about
Like,
to say I was 11 when I first watched Lord of the
and
Rings.
you had nightmares when those Nazgul showed up, didn't you? No.
No, not really.
Oh, you already
Actually,
desensitized then. I wasn't desensitized. I was sheltered.
no. I thought it was all cool. Like we got to
Oh,
Helm's Deep. I'm
Nazgul are my
like,
favorite.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
I like this.
Oh yeah. Like my dad took me to see it. Like there wasn't an issue with it. It's just like we came back because we went to see.
And
It was
to
opening night. It was like 11 p.m. when it started, and it was already like 3 hours long. So we got out at like 2 in the morning, but the Nazgul were everywhere. And I got home and I had nightmares. And it was I jumped in my parents' bed with them, and I was just like, no, 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 no. But then years later, I love the Nazgul. They're freaking cool, and it's just people like you probably got more desensitized to that, where people like me were very sheltered. Like I accidentally, well, I say accidentally, I secretly watched Terminator 1 at 1 in the morning at a very young age, and I really should not have done that, and I regretted that. I liked the
Now,
movie, but
it's not like I'm impervious to it because I watched someone do an Alien Isolation playthrough, and that one freaked me out.
you should play the fear games.
I'm not a huge fan of that kind of stuff.
You
So.
should. Like it's like Resident Evil, but psychological rather than like mutations. Everything. It's a lot of it's a little bit different, but it's still good. But there's a lot of like jump scares and stuff like that. But it's more of a like it's messed up, but it's in a good way. I beat all three of them, and it. I mean, I'm not really into horror games. Really, I like Killing Floor kind of stuff. Although Killing Floor 3, from all reports, has been an absolute disaster.
I was
But
about to say I have not seen any good reports about Killing Floor 3 so
they've removed so much. They've shrunk everything down and put so much microtransactions in it. And apparently, they allegedly have um, some questionable people who worked on the game, like the Sweet Baby kind. So
Mm.
I have to go back and revisit all that information because I made a video of it back when I heard about it. I haven't watched that video since I made it because I didn't watch the video. I just made it. But that kind of stuff being in it is something where I'm a little not looking forward to it. Kind of like Tales of the Shire was something I was really excited about, and then they're like, "Oh no, we're just going to make ethnically, racially different hobbits from everywhere, completely against the actual material." And then you look at the people who made it, and you're like, ah. And it has a Sweet Baby Inc. Writer, but I was like, and not only that, like even if that was right, it's still a boring game, is for by all accounts. So it's like it's not even just the woke aspects as much as it is. It's a boring game, and then woke aspects. Like it's just poorly done, and people are like even like I think it was like Polygon or somebody gave it like a 4 out of 10. Like it got bad ratings, and it's like I can't enjoy anything anymore. But it's that kind of stuff. So me trying to like I could introduce Tales of the Shire to my kid. He wouldn't care. He doesn't know anything about the lore. I have the graphic novel for The Hobbit, and I've been trying to read it to him, but he can't sit still long enough. So I'm like, I'll have to wait a little bit longer to do that. But more than anything, I want to watch Lord of the Rings with him because I want to play the Lord of the Rings games with him. And we're still learning the whole reading and writing stuff because he can't stay focused on it, but he's learning his letters and his numbers. And I was like, once you can read and write and stuff, a whole world's going to open up to you that I can like actually relate with you, because I can't relate with not being able to read and write because that's all I ever do. So there's things as a parent I want to do for my kids that I can't do in the current world because I have to be like super crazy about who takes care of my kids. I have to be super secure in knowing that people who are watching them are going to take care of them and protect them and keep an eye on them and not just let them wander off or they get nabbed and then I have to go on a John Wick storyline because I will. But it's that kind of a thing where the responsibility of the self is being handed to the government in every way possible. And in doing so, they're not thinking of the consequences in the long term because it's all about short-term gratification. They're like, oh, well, I can have those people I don't like over there shut down. Never thinking in a million years that as soon as those people get power, because they will eventually tip the scales, they're going to do the same thing to you. And you're not going to like it. And it's like, well, go figure. They don't like it either. But if we don't censor anybody, outside of obviously like blatantly illegal things like bad things to kids, blatant like calls for violence and stuff like that,
actual threats and all that
yeah,
kind
like
of stuff.
legitimate things. And it's the thing is, it's like you can't say, oh, I'm gonna put a bounty on something like that one chick from, was it frog, what's her name? Or no, that's not her, it's the other one, Um, I think it starts with a D. There's a Twitch streamer. Is it Denims? I think it might be Denims.
Oh, denims, yeah.
Yeah, and she put like a
Uh,
$30,000.
Hassan Orbiter or whatever.
Yeah. Well, she put well, she's doing better than me. But she put like a $30,000 or $10,000 bounty on Grum's head or something, and then tried to say, "Oh, it was just a joke." And I'm like, "No, no, no, no. That's not stuff you joke about. Those aren't jokeable territories. That should be considered as an absolute threat and an absolute like
Yeah,
sincere
well,
thing."
yeah, people feel again that's a completely different issue, but like yeah,
Well, yeah, but
there's
like if
legitimately that does qualify as a call to violence. A joke is making fun of someone or making a quippy comment. If I went up to you on the street and just said, "I'm putting $30,000 on your I'm going to pay someone $30,000
to end
if they're
yours,
able to kill you."
yeah,
That's not a joke.
clip it.
The difference is people think that like you could say something like that to your friends. Like I have this story I've told where like I have we were walking up a mountain in Colorado at a bachelor party, and a couple of the guys started singing Baby Shark. And I was at the front. I immediately turned around and said, "Guys, I'm the only one here with a knife in their backpack. I will ditch your bodies up here in the snow if you don't shut the fuck up." So that is a joke. Like it's with
In a
friends.
children's book.
It's it's with people you know. That's the difference there. You can't just
well,
walk up to someone who you know is like
well, it's it's
like
it's
who is like
that.
opposition, who you've had no good interaction with, who you don't know on a personal level, and say, "I'm gonna beat the shit out of you and kill you."
Well, it
It's a joke.
yeah, but it's different when like if you were to say like I'm going to send a million puppies to your house so they can smother you with cuteness, like obviously that's not possible. You can't possibly organize a million puppies and specifically direct them to do the smothering of somebody. Like that's where something's like it's a joke, it's sarcasm, it's a form of
Mhm.
speech. But it's not like a direct threat. It's just saying like I find you so annoying. I would send a million puppies to your house so they could just smother you. Like it, that's one thing. It's a totally different thing to say, "Hey, here's 10 grand if somebody just shuts this person up." Like that's blatant. That's not
And
like
again, there's another level to
potential.
it. Like I was demonstrating, like these aren't people you know personally. It is one thing because if you're a guy and you're doing any sort of competitive activity, you're threatening other people, right?
Call of Duty lobbies.
Yeah, you're threatening other people because that's how it goes. Okay,
Oh yeah. Oh
especially
my
if they're
gosh.
your friends. Um,
Did you hear about
like
the game? Did you hear about the game stuff?
no, but I guess we
Mar-
can get
Mar-
to that in a bit.
Marvel Rivals is starting to record all vocal chat, and they're going to
Mm.
start removing toxic players.
Well, look, I don't think
It's
that like
impossible to be a gamer and in an online game and not be toxic. I'm sorry. That's just you'll kill your entire fan base immediately.
yeah,
That
look,
or you kill the communication. And if you kill the communication, you kill the game there too. It's just it's a lose
I don't
lose.
like the way people behave towards strangers online. I mean, it never bothered me to get death threats back in Modern Warfare 3 when I was like 14 dropping AC 130s.
Oh, little baby, I you weren't even there for the early Call of Duty.
My first Call of Duty was Modern Warfare 2.
Mine was the old school World War II, aka Call of Duty 1.
Anyway, my point
Youngins.
is it's like it's one thing to be playing a split screen match and threaten to punch someone because they're using Commando Pro on Rust and being an absolute asshole.
You just throw the grenade and say it's all over, buddy.
Um, it's another thing, like you said, for someone completely like two people who do not have any sort of public relationship or even an adversarial relationship in many cases. It is another thing when you have that situation and one person is saying, "Hey, my dear followers, if you do this thing to this person, I will pay you."
Yeah.
Then
Well,
it becomes a threat.
it's also one of those things where, like, depending on the game, like if you're in a rated M game lobby of any type where you can interact with anybody, by default, you should be aware that I'm going to get in here and there's going to be people saying stuff they're not supposed to, because you can do that in a rated E game. Like, there's a reason it says under the ESRB is like internet activity is not calculated into this, because they can't control what people say. They think they can now, but they really can't, because it's like, let's say Marvel Rivals, was played by 30,000 people. Obviously, it's millions of people, but let's say it was only 30,000. And you're like, all right, now we're going to remove the toxic players. And now you have two. You're like, well, we just killed our game. So we're not making any money. So we can't do that. And then they have to try to counteract that. But even if they try to counteract it, the people who've already been, yeeted, they're not going to necessarily come back because they're going to be pissed off that you interrupted their playing. Like, they're going to go find somebody else who's going to, quote unquote, respect them enough to, like, leave them alone. And it's like, if you're playing Counter-Strike, if you're playing Marvel Rivals, if you're playing any of these other games that are more blatantly obvious, like really violent, or even if they're not, like you could be playing Tales of the Shire if they had an online mode. I don't think they do, but if they did, and you're playing Tales of the Shire, and somebody starts just screaming at you with the F slurs and stuff, you're online. You should be expecting this already. And if you don't want your kids to be shown to that, don't turn on the online functions. Like, duh. But like, it's the personal responsibility of like, as long as the game has the option to mute or block somebody and or both, it's the person's personal responsibility. If you're going to get offended by it, that means you're ignoring your personal responsibility to mute or block them. That's your fault. That's your problem. It's not somebody else's problem. Now, if they say something like, I'm going to pay somebody $10,000 to silence you forever, you have an argument. But you shouldn't be able to know that that's even an option because you should already have them muted. You should already have them blocked. It shouldn't be a
Mhm.
problem. But yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just such a ridiculous way that people look at the internet. Half of them see it as, oh, well, it's not real, therefore I can do whatever I want. The other half of them is like, well, it's okay, it's justified because I view them as evil people, therefore I can say whatever I want. And then there's a few people like me and you in between saying,
A few of us.
children, you're both just awful.
You're both terrible, and I don't want you around my children. But yeah, it's like, um, well, like I'm a metalhead, but I'm kind of terrified to take my kid to a metal concert because there's lots of smoking. I don't want him inhaling that. There's usually drugs going around, whether people know about it or else. There's also other activities in certain bathrooms that you don't want them to see or hear or anything. You've also got people sometimes are rude. Most of the time they're pretty good, but there are occasionally rude people. You can get a little rough in the mosh pit, and that mosh pit can push into the crowd, and somebody can get hurt. Yada yada. There is like etiquette and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff. I mean, half the time there's alcohol, so I wouldn't be able to do it anyway until he's old enough.
And not
But
not everyone is there to enjoy the or not everyone there is going to respect the unwritten rules of a metal concert.
those
I've been
guys
to a few.
usually get thrown out, but most of the time there's people
My
protecting it.
I go to metal concerts with my dad and brother all the time, and there have been people who have gone in looking for a fight in the mosh pit.
Oh yeah,
It's,
oh yeah.
those people are out there.
And they'll usually find their counterpoints and or counterparts in those mosh pits, and then they'll have a blast. But everybody else gives them plenty of berth because they don't want to participate in that necessarily. But like, I went to a concert and this guy just was like literally punching people in the face. It's like mosh pits are more about randomization. It's not about deliberate. So you're supposed to be like flinging your arms and stuff, but you're not supposed to like walk up to somebody and just deck them. But they did this
Hmm.
to girls, like teenage girls. And so this other guy got into a fight with him, and the guy who started the fight ended up getting thrown out because it's like you weren't just moshing, you were blatantly targeting people, and it's a bit of a mess. But it's like I don't want my kid to see people consuming alcohol. I want like he's not at an age which he can differentiate between like yeah, when you're old enough, you can choose to do this if you want to. I can't stop you because at some point you're going to be on your own. But I want you to be able to recognize the difference between yes, people have the legal options to do this, but you still have the personal responsibility to take care of yourself. And
Hmm.
that's maintaining the personal responsibility. Now, people out there be like, "Oh, my kid can smoke. My kid can." That's you and your kid. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I will argue that that's poor parenting.
Well, yeah, it's like
But
again, it's one of those things where like, sure, the person screaming obscenities at you over games chat isn't exactly in the right, but your options you have options to deal with them. You can either you can turn off the game, you can leave the lobby, or you can mute them. You
Or
have
block,
plenty of
mute and
outs in that
block.
situation.
There's lots of ways to get rid of it if you want
You do
to.
not have to go complaining to social media about how everyone is toxic and abusive. You can mute the fucking person.
And you don't have to buy your 6-year-old Grand Theft Auto. You don't have to. It's like I don't even know, like when he becomes old enough and he's got his friends and everything that he goes hang out at their house. I have to like be really careful who he's going over to their house, because when I was a kid, I went to people's houses and there were some questionable things happening, and I don't want him to go to those, get bad habits, and then bring it home, because then it's going to affect his brother. It's going to affect the family as a whole, his mother and I. And it's just like you have to like really vet people, because again, it's not like it was in the 90s. And the 90s was pretty chill compared to what it is now. And the 90s, some people argue, was pretty rough. So I don't know. When I grew up, it was pretty chill, but maybe it was just where I lived. Maybe it was the people my parents allowed me to be around. It's like a parent doing their parental duties typically allows for a lot more. So that's all personal responsibility. So for all of this is the legal side, the legality of things. Now there's the moral side, which we're about to get to, but this is the legality. There's a lot of legal aspects of what should you or should you not be pushing for government to take control of your life, because the more you give the government to control your life, the more they're going to take and not give back. And so if you just keep giving your freedoms away, well, eventually you're going to run out of freedoms. And then you're not going to be free to do stuff. You're going to have to pay 90% taxes instead of 60% taxes. You're going to be like, oh, I get free stuff. No, 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 no. You paid with that stuff with your taxes or somebody else's taxes. But then the people who are getting taxed really high that are actually working for it are going to stop working, because they're like, well, the state can just take care of me. Well, the state's going to have to enforce people to actually go out and make production and make wealth and generate wealth, because somebody's got to pay for it, which is why welfare is ultimately a bad thing. People had the idea that it would be a good thing. It's a good net to catch you. But the whole thing was is that before the government was the net, it was your family was your net. Your community was your net. You had people you could rely on. Like, I own a house, but if my house, like if I lost my house because of foreclosure or something, because I couldn't pay the payments or something, I could go to my parents' house and I could live with them because their house was paid off. And I could just live with them and their neighbors, and maybe we have a whole bunch of family. So they had family settings back in the homesteads, I should say, in the Wild West. It's like you had everybody be around because you could rely upon each other. You could work on the same farm, or you could work in the same business, whether it be a grocer, whether it be a banker, whether it be blacksmith, or whatever the case might be. You worked as a family. You grew up knowing a specific trade, because the fallback was your kin. The fallback was the community you were raised with that knows you through and through, and then you would rely upon each other if something goes south. We don't do that much anymore. But before we did that, or when we did that, we didn't have to have a welfare system. You'd pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you just move on. Now, there are certain circumstances in the here and now that prevent that from being as easy as it sounds, because not everybody has that net. Not everybody has a
Mhm.
family. Not everybody has a community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Which is why it's like, go find those people. Go find that community of people who are good for you. Not agree with you, but that are good for you. Because a lot of people will just go to wherever the yes men are, and that yes men causes them to believe something that's false, and then it actually will hurt them in the long run. But if you find people who will care about you and like say, hey, what you're doing is not good for you and it will not end well, and I want you to succeed. I don't want you to suffer what you're going to end up doing. That's where you get something to help you, so you don't need the government to help you in that regard. Now, what government could do to help is stop taxing so much. That'd be a move up. But
Maybe stop inflating our currency away.
yeah, yeah.
Cut some of the red tape and make things easier. Here's a personal experience from
Ooh.
and this is a little bit of a nuanced one, but here's a personal experience from my life. Building houses got more expensive in my area because they updated the building code to make things because some people, made some poorly constructed decks and stuff, and they fell apart. And now, well, that came along with an updated to framing codes, which require more insulation and more lumber. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's the thing is
Yeah.
like in some situations, yeah, a lot of people were cutting quarters in the building code.
So
Checks
like
out.
I said, it's a nuanced one, but again,
Well,
here's
yeah, yeah.
another
But I agree with you.
government screwing
I
people
agree
over
with
with
you because
policy.
it's like when the government, who doesn't know anything about construction, for one, because we've seen plenty of park benches and park stairs that were personally civilian put in, and then they tear down and then spend $64,000 on something that took like 1,200. But yeah, whatever.
Or the government spending millions of dollars to learn that putting a scope on an M4 makes it more accurate.
Or the fact that a firearm going bang is just as deadly as a firearm going bang, regardless of what you attach to it. Shocking, I know. Uh, but anyway, things like when the government, who doesn't know anything about construction, comes in and says, "Oh, you need to do these things," it's like you don't even know what these things are, and you're telling me I now have to follow them, which is going to cause problems, and people's houses are going to burn to the ground because you're trying to be so safe centered for the person and their house that it actually will cause them problems, or it'll consume more energy.
It gets worse. Let me explain a little bit of the problem for this too.
It's great.
So there are inspectors who come by the jobs and like verify everything, make sure it's up to code. If something gets overlooked in an inspection and someone gets injured, the inspector can be held legally liable, or the contractor can be held legally liable, or
Well,
both.
well, it's like
So the inspector is incentivized at gunpoint to be as strict as possible.
yeah,
So
and
it's not fun,
well, I
but
mean,
it's the kind of
if
bullshit you got to deal with when you're dealing with people's houses.
well, and also if there's a contractor who is blatantly cutting corners, like they're
Mhm.
absolutely 110% cutting corners to make a quick buck, and it comes at the cost of someone's life or something, then yes, they should be held accountable for it.
Yeah,
But if somebody's like,
there are
no,
plenty of those in the field. Trust
oh,
me.
oh, I know. But if there's somebody who, but if there's somebody who's like out there doing honest work, presumably like you, and it's like, but yeah, if you're out there doing stuff and somebody has like an accident because they like throw themselves through their window, it's like it's not my fault that they did that. So it's like it's too broad, but at the same time it's just too much. And it's the same thing where like I was talking to some coworkers today. I should stop doing that. But I was talking to some coworkers and I pointed out that, the more laws you make, the more criminals you make. Because you can't just not break a law when there's so many of them. When you have all these do not do this and you just do them without realizing you're not doing, now you're a criminal. Sorry to break the news to you, but that's just how it is. So the less you have, and Matt would disagree with me on this because he thinks that they need to be specific for specific reasons. I'm like, well, when you say, fraud is illegal. Well, fraud is everything like lying to somebody, snake oil salesman kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like it
Well,
covers a broad category because
so
you're not delivering the thing you're trying to deliver.
here's the counter argument to that is no matter what system you have, people will find a way to exploit it. When you
Sure.
put in a bunch of definitions, people will, rely on lawyers to weasel those definitions to mean what they want to. So having specific laws does not stop the problem.
Yeah. And laws can be circumvented rather easily by people who are powerful enough to be able to afford it.
Or if the state just doesn't feel like it's worth it to enforce the
Yeah,
law.
which is also why do we have so many laws? Because some of those laws that you break every single day, they don't need to be on the books because they're not enforcing them. And if they enforce them on certain people instead of other people, well, I believe they call that discrimination. And that's why they don't enforce them at all, or they enforce them on everybody, and then it just becomes overbearing, and thus California. But the weird thing about California is they're so overbearing that they will not charge you because you stole only $900 worth of stuff.
Well,
Oh,
you got to
okay.
keep in mind that law, like punishing people for stealing, that disproportionately discriminates against racial minorities. You got to understand that. Like
Those
the
Koreans, man.
Dude, the racism in that line of logic is just insane.
Yeah, but they're not racist because they're trying to protect the people who are too stupid to actually protect themselves and make good choices. I have to help them. I have to give them a book and then I have to read it to them because they're too stupid to read it to themselves. Is actually literal racism. It's the white savior mentality is so stupid and trash. But that's the legal side. So let's jump to the moral side since I mean we got a little bit of it here, but it's more on this side of things. So
All right.
let me get the right one and get back up to where it was. There we go. I guess let's go down here first. And they
Yeah,
have
so this comes from the Christian Anime Podcast. This is a guy I've almost never seen around, mostly because I don't keep up with other people in my own sphere of YouTube, but mostly because I don't see this guy anywhere.
I'd also
Anyway,
like to
so
point out that I don't think Christian anime exists. Well, actually, I
he
should take that back. Superbook exists. That's about it.
oh, just quickly go to his profile here. I want to show you something.
I don't know if I want to.
Just yeah. Um, I believe he has something in his bio like yeah, see, just a normal
How
guy
anime
talking about
is
how anime.
Christian?
Yeah, we'll just ignore that it comes from a Buddhist slash Shintoist country
What's a
and that a lot of it,
Philippinks?
right?
What?
Hmm.
Why is he wearing that on his arm like a particular funny mustache man? Ironically, he has a funny mustache.
Okay, so we can go back now. I just wanted to point that out. Like, this is the way the guy thinks. Can find
What? Buddy Girl Senpai is a Christian. Oh my gosh, this guy's lost his mind.
yeah. I actually just recently watched that one. It was really fucking good.
Is that the one where she's invisible?
There's a whole lot more to it, but yeah, that's basically how it
That
starts.
turned me off to the whole concept. Is like the whole people can't see me and like bringing in this weird supernatural thing.
I will say that um her invisibility only lasts for about 3 episodes.
Apparently, I didn't get past the third episode. I think I probably got stuck at the first
So
episode.
it only lasts a few episodes. They have a bunch of other things that happen in there. I know you don't like body swapping, but that is one where she body swaps with her
Yeah.
sister. There's also
Body
this
swapping is
whole
just creepy.
anyway, that's a side topic. Either way, we had the Christian Anime Podcast talking about how I want to say that banning porn is a good thing actually, and to some extent you can make that argument because I do think that it is a net negative on society.
You can agree that it's a morally reprehensible thing if that's
Well,
your
it's
view.
also a net negative to society. Like I
No,
said, there
yeah,
are certain
yeah.
things about it that are just like,
Well,
yeah, I can't
it breaks
argue
down
that this is
relationships.
I won't argue that this is a good thing.
Yeah, and like
But
it breaks down relationships. It treats people with a fantasy world and all that kind of stuff. Like there's lots of negatives to it, and I don't really think there's much of a positive to it. I mean, I've heard people try to claim that there's a positive to it. I'm like, you're gonna have to do some massive mental gymnastics to pull that one off on me. But whatever. But this is where it gets to the morality side of things,
mhm.
comparative to the actual legality side of things.
Well,
While
yeah, it
porn might not be moral from the objective standpoint because exploitation and all the other things that come along with it and also relationships and all that jazz,
or if you
but
want to do it from the religious perspective,
yeah,
there's also that too.
well, that's more the objective side, but yeah, but there's also
I would
the
think that the religious one would be a little bit more subjective because people have different religious views.
yes, but the country was also founded on particular objective ethics that the founding fathers held to. That's usually what is considered in that
I don't
regard.
think this is a debate I really want to get into with you in particular. So let's just move on.
You just stepped in a whole mountain. You weren't going to be who's going to be in the ditch in the snow on this mountain? but yes, philosophy, science, and theology. Woo! But yes, philosophy is the bestest. But yes, you like you can say from a moral perspective, I'd rather porn not be a thing. I'd rather it not be out there. I don't want people to consume it. I want people to be healthy in the mindset and physicality. I don't want there to be diseases from one night stands or other particular types of interactions. I don't want all this stuff like to be the way it is, and if we just stick to the particular nuclear family of a natural traditional system, you don't get all that extra stuff with like obviously some very very small exceptions from things that cannot be handled normally speaking wise, like it's usually from neglect rather than direct action. But that's a different topic. But you could say I disagree with this but still think people need to make the decision, but we'll get to that. I'll have you go ahead and read this again.
Another one of my long diatribes.
It's not that
So,
long. It's like 5 paragraphs.
I call it long because most people would look at this and say it's
You
long.
call it long because you don't know what long is.
Dude,
Hey!
I used to write this kind of stuff in essay formats just because I felt like
I
it.
hate essays.
This
I'd rather
is
write novels.
this is short. This is short for me, honestly. So, okay, so this debate is tiresome. Prohibition failed. So a little bit of because I got into this in the comments on this one. When I say it failed, we can talk about like what it achieved, but ultimately it didn't actually change the morals of the country, and it led to a spike.
Ultimately, alcohol came back.
Ultimately, it came back. It didn't change the morals of the country. It didn't actually manage to make a lasting change, and it led to the rise of organized crime. So there we go.
I mean, as long as it's the mob, they'll take better care of you than the government will.
They will. Anyway,
they actually care about the neighborhoods. They actually make it a peaceful territory. They actually deal with issues. But they would
you
also
know what? Maybe prohibition was a success. Anyway, continuing
not really,
on.
because the mafia was sitting there going like, "Yeah, we're actually letting you drink in the back room if you want to." But hey, at least the mafia would probably get arrested by UK for anti-immigration sentiments. Ironically, they're immigrants. But yeah, sorry, I would know. I'm Sicilian. But yeah, go ahead.
The war on drugs failed. I mean, it basically did.
We have more drugs now than ever before.
And this is funny because the government was both sidesing this issue. You had the government, the face of the government saying drugs are bad. Meanwhile, all of the organizations are like, we're going to profit off of this. We can fund our black ops.
It's not even that. It's like one side of it, and this also goes in line with the war on guns and everything from the gun runners and all that jazz. One side of it's the government saying, we're going to fight drugs and guns. On the other side, we're selling drugs and guns. It's the same people. Yeah. It's stupid.
And banning corn will fail too.
We're far enough in. You could say it if you want to.
Okay, so banning porn will fail too.
How dare you?
Just largely for the same reason. You want to medicate away the symptoms with legislation rather than fix the root cause.
Mm-hmm. I read that first paragraph. I didn't have to read the rest of it, and I already had my comment put in your thing. I was like, go ahead, sorry.
The UK's policy actually proves a good point as to why we should not trust the government with this kind of power. Their insistence that it is all to protect the children falls on deaf ears when you have a history of ignoring grooming gangs in your country. So it becomes apparent that this is about control.
Well, anyone think about the children?
Yeah.
It's the dumbest argument.
And dude, their PM literally was in an interview. He got cornered and basically admitted that it was not about protecting the children.
Yeah, I heard that where they just basically keep going. It's like, oh, it's about this.
Yeah, they keep insisting on the question and not letting him dodge.
Yeah, it's like, you can't dodge this one. Yeah. That's one bullet you can't dodge the UK. Hey, sorry.
So next paragraph, whether or not porn is good for society is irrelevant to the debate. You're trying to fix a moral wound with a legal band-aid and it won't work. Those who desire it will get around it just as they always have. I mean, people have already found that their system is fooled by the most basic of like AI generated licenses.
And they're funny too.
So if you want to fix these problems, you ought to start with where they actually come from. A lot of the issues with a broken society and the way we view things now is versus, a half a century ago.
Yeah.
We know how this cycle goes. The slippery slope has been experienced again with government policy. Just look at taxation in the US, where we rebelled over a 3% tax and now we pay 33% of
a 3% tea tax. Just tea. That was all it was. And now we pay what, like
We pay
20.
a
We pay like
third of
20%.
our entire life's income to the
No,
government
no, I'm talking like
on
even
average.
even just the tea tax. Like if you look at tea, how much tax you pay on tea is like miles above the 3% they were paying back in the day. Like they
Mhm.
revolted over just the 3% tea tax, and now we're paying like 20-30% tax on this stuff. It's ridiculous.
Mm. So yeah, it won't stop with porn. After that, it becomes the very concept of fan service, then anything with an even remotely suggestive design, as it always does, because that's how government goes, you know?
I'd also point out that a suggestive design is also a very subjective term because if you're a
Exactly.
puritanical mindset, that's like, oh, you're showing ankle. That's suggestive. It's
Well,
like,
that's what I'm getting here is that
yeah.
someone's whoever is in power is going to determine what porn is, and then it will become fan service because there are already a lot of like people in the anime community who consider a panty shot like a grave sin, and they won't watch any series with fan service in it, and they stick solely to solo leveling and Jujutsu Kaisen because they can't stand the idea of fan
So now
service.
we need to call up the author of Solo Leveling. I need you to give me one panty shot, dude. I just need you to give me one.
He's dead, can't do that.
Ah, dang it. He is?
Yeah, he is
When did that happen?
a while ago.
Did he complete the series and then he died, or is he in the
Yeah,
process and
pretty
then he died?
much. Someone else was writing the sequel series.
That sucks.
Yeah. So anyway, so on and on until all forms of human expression are completely sterile. Yeah, because that's how these things go. Is you all it just keeps it just keeps pushing the line a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. That's how we've gotten here. I mean, look at how government power has expanded. I mean, you start with like Abraham Lincoln and all the things that he did to the states, and then you had Woodrow Wilson, FDR, and from there on and on and on and on, all of the abuses of power that were
Don't
used by all these.
remind me. I already hated it as it is. But
Yeah,
when you said sterile, you know what popped in my head?
styrofoam.
No. The movie
Okay.
Equilibrium. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Oh, you need to. It's got Christian Bale, Sean Bean. It's literally a George Orwellian society where basically everyone is forced to take a drug a certain amount of times every day, and it basically removes emotion from the society. And they basically there's no art, there's no music, there's no love. I'm surprised they have kids, like that kind of a thing. Like it's probably forced, mandatory kind of a thing. They're not doing it because they enjoy it. And the rebels, the bad guys, are people trying to preserve art from being burned, preserve music, books, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And basically, Christian Bale's they have what they call gun fu, where he does like a special like martial arts with
That's where
guns.
that from the curving the bullets thing.
No, that was from
No.
Lucky Number 11, I think, or something of
Mm.
that nature. It's not. No, this is from like he'll like shoot in different like ways, but it's like legit cool. Um, and it's great choreography. Sean Bean dies. Go figure. He's a filthy rebel, but basically Christian Bale misses one of his medications because it breaks, and so he goes to like get one, but then he starts feeling, and he starts getting sense he can like his senses are kind of revived because the world's not dead anymore, and then he like experiences the sun and rain coming on like his window, and he just like becomes overwhelmed with emotion. But also, kids are notorious for reporting people, so he has to keep it hidden from his kids, and he has to just act like. Keep in mind, he's the number one enforcer of this entire like authoritarian government, and he has to kind of go through, and he's been killing rebels, destroying art, all the things that might generate emotion. And I feel like it was supposed to be a callback to like the Soviet Union when they were really on their anti-art, anti-emotion deal, because emotion means ideas of freedom and all that stuff. Um, and we did one video on that for the Tolkien Society stuff. If anyone wants to see it, we gave it a 10 out of 10 because it was a fantastic episode, which is the only one out of the entire thing that we've done. We still have to finish more, but that's the only one that actually was like legit good. But ultimately, he has to basically revolt against the government and basically just starts stacking bodies like crazy. And it was great. It's very well choreographied, but I that's what I think of sterile is because like in this particular instance is like all forms of human expression are completely sterile. It's literally equilibrium. So I would highly recommend it if you got like 2 hours to watch it or something. It's fantastic, and it will definitely get you to this mindset. But yeah, go ahead.
So to pick up where we were, so all forms of human expression are completely sterile. Not because I think that's what people want or what you want in particular, but because that is the Pandora's box of power you are opening here. So far be it from me to be highly averse to giving any entity power over what decisions people can make, because I'm aware enough of the history of mankind to know that we like to abuse power. That is my objection. I do not trust the government, who brought us all sorts of trouble, to be kind or even responsible with this power. And
Very
I
wise
still
son.
do not, to this day, think that is an unreasonable position to have.
That's a terrible reason. That's like taking this position is clearly authoritarian in nature, because
Yeah, I just all oh, apparently all I want is to just expose all the kids to all the dirty material ever.
that's what
Like
a
I
good democratic citizen would say. But no, you want to stop. If you want to stop,
Gooners for Super Earth.
if you want to stop the frogs from turning gay, then you're a fascist.
But no, again, it's one of those things where, like I said earlier, I compartmentalize the things that I find morally objectionable and that I find should be illegal. Because, as I've said, I do not think that my personal moral code on certain things should be enforced on every person. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the whole of like the way dating culture has gone with everyone sleeping around and all of that. Like, I was raised Christian.
You're just jealous.
I'm not a huge fan of the way people have gone about it. I don't think it should be illegal, because again, I also believe
Well,
that
even if
two
it was
consenting adults.
illegal, there's no way to like prevent that without going like crazy authoritarian, like collars with
Well, true,
shocking and everything. Like you wouldn't be able to stop that.
true. But my point in this all is that, like, I still believe that a consenting adult should be allowed to. There are a lot of things that I find morally objectionable that I think um they should be allowed to do, and it's one of those things where you have to have like an actual case as to why it should be illegal.
Well,
Lying.
it,
Well, let's go with like something very simple, like lying. Like if I told my parent that no, I did not eat that cookie from the jar, like, okay, so you get in a it's morally wrong, but ultimately you didn't cause a whole lot of trouble, and you may get like mildly punished for lying to your mother about it, but it isn't something illegal.
very
It a
funny,
lie
comrade. Turn in the face wall.
yeah, a lie becomes illegal when there's actually, a victim to that lie, someone who has suffered some form of harm, whether it be physical or monetary, right? Like
Like when
fraud.
you lie about somebody who's in another state and they go to prison for 20 plus years because you lied to your mom because you didn't want to get in trouble. That kind of a thing.
That is a crime.
Yeah,
That is a crime.
yeah.
Or like fraud,
And
where you
they
lie
tapped her on
about
the
a
wrist.
where you lie about a business and you collect a bunch of money, and then everyone gets screwed out of that money.
Looking
That
at
is a
you,
crime.
some of you Steam early accessors. We use scurvy dogs.
So, like, while there is a little bit of wiggle room in this, morality doesn't specifically equate to legality, in my view. I don't think it is the law's job to strictly regulate everyone's moral compass. Because what are we going to do? Are we going to ban people from lying or being angry or swearing or however? Some people believe drinking alcohol is immoral,
Yeah, well,
but not having four wives.
make it 5. But do you remember the recent Goonergate episodes on Twitter
We're talking
specifically?
about uh what kind of recent? Are we talking about where Razor Fist got bullied off the internet kind of recent?
Well, that was from something else, but yes, something like it was Razor Fist and Melanie Mac and their ilk.
No, Razor Fist literally quit side scrollers for a while because people kept asking him about his take. He got fed up and
Well,
he just
yeah,
decided to back out.
yeah. I mean, I was referring to the him being accused of inappropriate
Well,
behavior type
well,
thing. But
that
that
that's
was a
been
different
something
thing.
that's been going on for a while since he broke up with his ex. I
Yeah,
watched his
apparently
video
it's
on
all
that.
fake anyway. But
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
I watched
surprised.
his video on it. He makes a very good case in defense of himself, and I honestly am on his side in that regard. With
I
all the evidence that he
I
has
like him as a
presented.
metalhead, but he's got some wild takes and other things. But
He's an old head. He likes the things that he grew up with, and anything new
I
is
mean,
just he can't fathom it.
dude. I still listen to the same stuff I listened to in middle school. Like, I don't change that much. But my thing is more like him and Melanie Mack. After we successfully beat back the idiots that do Dragon Age Veilguard, Star Wars Outlaws, we finally are beating back video game publishers who are trying to provide us with what they think is what we want, not what we tell them what we want. And that's when like Stellar Blade and all that stuff comes out. And Melanie Mack was okay with Stellar Blade, but then First Ascendant comes out, and then now we have problems. But they went on like that's what we got Goonergate, which is basically the
Well, it happened right as culture was starting to turn around, and like right after the 2024 election.
yeah.
The moment they felt like they had the power now, they were like, "All right, full mask off."
It's like okay, I mean, Melanie Mack's almost the literal definition of a Bible thumper. And I don't inherently think there's anything wrong with that. I just think the way she goes about it isn't necessarily the best way to do it. But that's just my personal preference. She's free to do what she wants.
Yeah, I don't think calling Sydney Sweeney a prostitute on the internet is a really good Christian thing to do.
I mean, that's like calling literally every swimsuit model ever a freaking prostitute because they do the exact same thing. Or going to see a movie where they have like Baywatch and they're like, oh, that lifeguard's in a very skimpy lifeguard outfit. She must be a prostitute.
It would be really inconvenient if we scrolled through Melanie's Twitter feed and found her taking photos of herself in bikinis and stuff.
Prostitute. But no, like they had what I would call the new satanic panic, where everything all of a sudden just becomes a moral outrage. They're outraged about everything. I'm just like, okay, just because I like to see attractive women, and I'm sure women like to see attractive women as well as attractive men, guys like to be the attractive men. So it's not like we're just doing it because we got a goon. There's plenty of other ways to goon. You don't have to do it in video games.
I played the first Ascendant and never actually played a female character. I was Ajax the entire time.
Ajax is pretty
Because
badass.
I thought his fucking helmet was awesome. I'm
Oh,
like, of
yeah.
course I'm gonna play this.
He's a freaking
This
Winter
dude's got
Soldier.
horns on his helmet. He has like indestructible shields. You know what? This is my kind of character.
You're not playing against the whole "I'm a horny guy" case because you have a horn suit. But
Oh
no,
no,
like
I am
I
a horny
played,
guy.
I
I'm not gonna
played,
deny that.
I played. I think her name's Viessa, the ice woman, the frost woman. I love her character. I like ice. I like snow. I like winter. Like it was awesome, and her abilities were pretty cool too. But she's also attractive. And it's like okay, the game itself doesn't have a whole lot of substance and has way too much grind. Just like Destiny 2, like all the games that are try to be that kind of a thing. If they ever gave you a legitimate game, like beginning to end, A to B or A to Z, whatever you want to call it, and like legit had attractive characters like that, both men and women, there wouldn't be a problem because it would do really well. It fell off because they ran out of content and everything was just so much of a grind. I tried grinding for some weapons and there's no way to like tell what builds are good or not good, and you have to spend an ungodly amount of resources to get even like your first test run to be somewhat decent. And it's got a very weird Eastern style system, so it's not like normal to us in the West. But it didn't fail because they're attractive or anything. It failed because they ran out of content. And then they do a massive content drop and it shoots back up for a little bit. And then it drops because the content's no longer enough. But when you have all these other games like Stellar Blade, like Melanie Mack was okay with Stellar Blade. Booty shots and all.
She's
like,
still okay with old school Lara Croft.
Yeah. And I'd be like, I don't have anything with an issue with either of those either. I mean, obviously I don't have a Stellar Blade because it's right there, but you can't really see it because it's whited out by the light. But it actually has legit good gameplay, and the character, it has a really good personality. And I'm not talking just huge tracts of land. I'm talking like literally, she has a sweetheart personality. She's adorable. She's innocent. Like whatever you put on her, and my favorite is the teddy bear outfit because it's literally just her in like a teddy bear costume with a big teddy bear head. But just beside all that, like regardless, you put her in like the most naughty lingerie you could possibly put her into, her personality is still super super innocent because she's pretty much just a child. And not she's not literally a child. I'll stop people right there. She's not a child. She's very much an adult, but she's a child in a whole lot of story ways, which I can't just spoil the game for people. But it's the concept where they went nuts over that because of the moral outrage, because the satanic panic, where everyone's just trying to goon and they're doing this, and the people were literally making clips of her saying, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with Silly Blade. Eve's fine," and then she'd be going over here, "Oh, these women are just," and it's like, but why though? Like she wears less in her videos sometimes, where she wears her like little short shorts or whatever, and she wears her tank top or whatever. She's wearing less than some of these other girls are. They just have shapely bodies, and it's like,
I'm gonna be kind of blunt in my opinion of her. I think she's jealous and she wants the attention, so thus she starts,
I mean, maybe I'm not going to make that kind of a judgment on anybody in that regard, but I will say that
it's the only through line that I can find. I think she's doing it all for the attention because she has sold herself as the Christian gamer girl. Now she has to, play the part.
it's probably true, but I don't have enough information to make a definitive. But I can agree it's a possibility.
It wouldn't really be fair to say that it's a concrete thing. That's just my speculation on it.
Yeah,
It's my opinion
but
of her.
like Razor Fist jumping in on this, and a couple of the other orbiters of their group, which are usually the puritanical side of us from the Gamergate 2. So we win Gamergate 2, and they instantly open Pandora's box for Goonergate. And we're like, but why? We want to have characters that can become attractive because we don't want to look at hideous all day. Now, if they make a game where everyone's hideous and the game's intended to be hideous, the story explains why everyone's hideous.
The funniest part is like the Gooner Gate people never actually said that like things have to be sexy all the time or I'm not going to play it. They just said that they prefer that. I mean, everyone on like our side was pretty much saying like just make a good game, and if whether or not it has a hot female character, if it's a good game, it'll attract people.
Well,
Like Black Myth Wukong, Space Marine, games like that were huge. They were massively successful. They didn't have any of that sexy stuff going on with it.
um, I think Black Myth Wukong had about 3 characters that you could come across that were attractive looking, but they were not like you because you're Wukong. But people did get excited about them because, ooh, attractive women. I haven't seen those in years. Like it's expected. It's expected that people would go a little goo goo gaga over something they haven't seen. Like
Mhm.
it's been 400 years, you know. Like
Gooner Gate was like the most unnecessary controversy our side has ever produced.
and I will say that Space Marines is inferior to Gears of War. Just saying.
I'm just saying that in terms of popularity,
Yeah.
those two games popped off because people actually enjoyed playing them.
Oh, also the Satanic Panic from Goonergate. They lost their mind over Baldur's Gate 3, which is funny because physical copy right there. Um, all the options that they were complaining about were literally options you had to actually manually choose to do so. And I'm like, have you ever played a D&D game or a tabletop game with role-playing aspects? Because
Or how about John of the Rice and the Ballad of Kingdom Come Deliverance too?
that was stupid, but we got gaslit on the production of that too, so I'm not happy with them either.
Mm,
Um, no,
I mean,
he admitted it to it. So he said I had to do it for the publishers. I didn't want to lose my funding. Blah 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 blah.
yeah, but that did end up getting blown out of proportion. It was
Well,
still a good game.
it was blown out of proportion, but he also
He
gaslit
may
us.
well have done that, yes. But again, it's one of those things where like, all right, I'll forgive it because you still ended up making a largely good game, and the people who are
Ironically,
criticizing,
I just finished Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 when that all came out, and I was like, oh frick me.
I know people who have played the game and they said it was really good. I haven't done it myself. It's something I'll probably get around to eventually. But like the people who were criticizing Daniel Favre for like everything, they were picking nits. And it's the same situation where like you have to make the choices consciously over the course of the entire game to get your gay quote unquote pedophilic relationship that you're out here complaining about.
They aged him up though, so it doesn't matter either way.
Yeah, yeah, that's the big thing. Like they were both aged up. They weren't actually directly based on the historical characters.
Yeah, and I defended the whole Muslim scholar guy because it's not abnormal to have a quote unquote wise man kind of character being brought on by a king from a foreign land to give advice. Like that's not abnormal in any shape or form. So people are going nuts about it. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's just one dude. And they're like, well, he made the daring claim to say that his people treated women better than we did. I was like, well, of course, from his perspective, he believes that's true. You obviously know that's not true. But he's not gonna like we treat our women poorly compared to you. He's not gonna say that. He's gonna gas up his own people group and culture because that's what you do back then. Even today, that's what they do. So it's like people got way overblown with that, and I was like, I don't care because that seems like a logical possibility for a royal court. Now, if it was just like every 5 people there was an African, I'm like, we're in freaking Hungary or Bohemia and Hungary territory. Like this isn't gonna be the way it is. But that's not what happened. It was one dude, as far as I'm aware. Um, but it kind of took the wind out of my sails for wanting to play that game because of the gaslighting and him admitting to it. I'm just like, man, I almost pre-ordered your game, like the big collector's bundle, and now I'm glad I didn't. But maybe I'll play it eventually. But the first game started to get a little boring, and the combat was pretty lame. But either way, when Baldur's Gate 3 came out and they were all freaking out and everything, it's like, well, you don't just sleep with a bear. That's actually a dude, and you're a dude. So, or the character you're having do it, they're both guys, but one's a bear. You have to tell them to do that. Now, they did admit that they made the companions a little too horny, and they had to patch it out because it's like the first time they meet you, it was like, oh, I want to have sex, and you're like, a little too much there, buddy, old pal of mine. But all those choices, like if you've ever played a Dungeons and Dragons game, typically the DM will give you a lot of options. Like you can basically do whatever you want. You want to seduce a dragon and have kids with it? You can do that. Do you want to turn the BBEG, big bad evil guy or girl, whoever?
I know
Well, I'm
I know
explaining
that
for
term.
people
Okay.
who, and you too, Crimson. But for if they're a lich, you wanna seduce them, go for it. Do you want to make best friends with them? Do you want to cast a spell on them that charms them? You can attempt it, and if the DM makes it work, you can have that happen. But every choice is on the players interacting with their surroundings. Nothing happens without you making the decision. Because if you don't make the decision, it never happens. Unless it's an overall plot point, like the bad guy's about to go wipe out the city, and you didn't stop him from wiping out the city. It happens because it's an inevitable prophecy kind of thing. But you could do virtually anything. Do you want to sleep with everybody there? You can. Do you want to not sleep with anybody? You can. Like it's whatever you want to do. Do you want to have a purely sexual role play? You can. Do you want none? You can. It's literally your imagination is your limitation, and that's what Baldur's Gate lets you do. Because if you're a girl and you want to be into one of the guys, like maybe Asterion, maybe Gale, whatever the case might be, you can romance them. There's not enough romance options in these kind of games. And then if you're into Shadowheart or somebody else, you can. Because they're trying to appeal to everybody, but they don't know who's playing their game. It's not like they said, "Are you boy or are you girl?" And then when you pick that, it locks everything else out. They're just saying you have the freedom to choose whatever the frick you want to do, and they put so much time into making those plot points. So for somebody like you could go through the entire game and not goon at all, literally. It's so easy to do. Just like, and from what I understand from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you had to like press 7 buttons or something deliberately to get the gay ending type thing. Like that's purely on a person making an active choice for that. So I don't understand how you could come to the conclusion that, you know, it's just full of Gunner stuff. It's like, well, yes and no, because you could play the game 10 times and never come across Gunner content unless you click on it. That's just it's just how the game works. But I did want to point out what he says directly in Christian Anime Podcast. In light of the newly passed online safety bill in the UK, I wanted to say that banning porn is good, actually. Now, I don't know why in light of, because he should already have this perspective. Like, banning porn is good, actually, is a moral position, and he's not necessarily wrong. Like, he's kind of right. But at the same time, he's trying to use the legality aspect to make it. And then again, back up to what you said in your first one. You know, prohibition failed, war on drugs failed, banning porn will fail too, largely for the same reason. You want to medicate away that this is what got me right here. That's what made me start typing. You want to medicate away the symptoms with legislation rather than fix the root cause. Now, I don't know if my comment's anywhere in here. There it is.
There's only a couple.
People choosing to stop consuming porn would be the fix. But that would involve people making sincere decisions for their lives, and we can't have that. Because you have to make people not be able to consume whatever they want for their addictions or their pastimes, their whatever they might be. And it's just like you and even like from his Christian perspective, and this is where I can already tell this guy's got to be a satire site or a satire account, parody account or something, because for one, anime is not Christian unless it's Superbook, of course.
I think his
But
whole thing is like talking about how there are Christian morals and all this.
well,
But he starts
he's,
talking about
he's thinking typology
Bunny
is what
Girl
he's talking about.
Senpai with which has like a notoriously horny protagonist who's constantly talking about how he's imagining his girlfriend in the nude and all of that.
Any healthy 16-year-old boy. But like,
Or the main character for that series like likes it that his girlfriend is so harsh to him all the time. Like she steps on his foot at one point and he's like kind of like enjoying it.
so he's like the male version of darkness.
Kinda, yeah. There's even a point at which he's like sitting there smiling, like I know she's gonna stare at me, like, and she's gonna like give me that look, and he just has this goofy smile on his face as he's thinking about it.
Oh my.
So yeah, like Bunny Girl Senpai, definitely Christian.
Well, it's what I believe the term. I believe I'm using it correctly. Is typology. I might want to check that just to make sure before I continue on. But if I recall
So
correctly, typology is like comparing multiple types.
if you were going to say that there are Christian morals that you can find reinforced in anime, sure. I could talk about the silent voice and how it's a whole story, it's a whole thing about unconditional forgiveness.
Yeah. So similar typology is a system of classification used to organize things according to similar or dissimilar characteristics. So typology is like this thing does this, and this thing over here also does this thing over here, or does the same thing. So we're gonna put them in the same group. They're the same thing. So it's the I mean famously Lord of the Rings. Tolkien hates allegory related to his work, and people are like, well, Aragorn is a Christ-like figure, right? And you know, good versus evil and all this like that. There's a lot of people who still input their own concept of allegory and whatnot into the text, and then basically say, this is just like this. 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 They like they're attaching it to everything Christian they could possibly come up to. And there's also people, and that's where the Tolkien Society comes into play for our videos. So you can always check those out if you really want to feel the urge to hurt yourself. Um, there's people who think like one of the ones that got me aware of it, but we couldn't find the video because they took it down, was called Gondor in Transition. And it was about Gondor being an allegory for trans people. And that they're looking for typology. They're looking for similarities. Like, well, Gondorans, they eat food. Trans people eat food. They're basically the same thing. And I'm just like,
Hey, you know who else eats food?
Hitler.
Damn it.
Thought you could steal that one.
Adolf Hitler.
No, you do it this way. Adolf Hitler. Oh no.
Oh, okay.
Can't assassinate him enough.
Enough getting your show demonetized here, you know.
What monetization are you talking about? I'm never gonna be monetized at this rate.
I don't know, like the 2 shekels that you make off of YouTube every once in a blue moon, you know.
I don't make any money off of YouTube.
I know. I'm making.
I don't have enough subscribers to even become monetized.
Oh,
rub it in, why don't you, Crimson?
What a present! Oh,
what a jerk! Why do I invite you here? I don't know.
Because you love me, you slut.
You gay. But I almost said the other word. But I'll tell you after we're off stream what I really think about you. But yeah.
Yes, Daddy.
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm pretty much old enough to be your daddy. That's the problem. Awkward. You better not let Rolo know about this.
Yeah.
Anyway, when it comes to things like the morality aspect, if people choose, like if we said, you know, we have to choose to stop smoking, we have to choose to stop consuming copious amounts of alcohol to the point of being blackout drunk. We have to choose to not overeat. We have to choose to work out and be healthy. We have to choose to eat healthy. We have to choose, like, you're making those active choices. That's the only way you can be sincere in those decisions and actions and consequences that you make or receive. If they just try to legalize it or delegalize it or whatever, criminalize it, I guess the term, whatever it is, it's not going to stop people. It's going to make them find things. Because I don't know if anybody knows this about humanity, but humans love the taboo. And the more you tell a kid to not open the candy jar, the more they want to open the candy jar. And it's just, that's the nature of humanity. So the more you tell somebody, don't do this, or you're not allowed to do this, the more they're going to find the way around it. And that's where VPN sales go through the roof. And now, from what I understand, is Britain is looking to try to prevent VPNs from being used, even though there's legitimate uses of VPNs to prevent people from scamming or hacking or all that kind of stuff. And it's the same concept with like torrenting. So torrenting has a legitimate use to share files between people who have files they need to share with people. Like, it's a legitimate function. But then people use it to do other things with it that would not be considered legal. Yar. Yar, mateys. Sea turtles. Sorry. I love that phrase in Pirates of the Caribbean. Such a stupid phrase. But yeah, like, just because somebody does something, and I hold this because, like, the reason VPNs are not illegal and torrenting is not illegal is because there are legal reasons to use them. I push this argument to firearms. Just because someone does something bad with it doesn't mean millions more people aren't doing something good with it.
You know what? In light of that,
oh no, he changed his hat, folks. Go. Run for it. You didn't put the right size on it, did you?
No, there we go.
Nice. Now you gotta put your other hat on top of the hat. Oh my. But yes, that's
you made it in this far. Yes, I am always this retarded.
I can vouch for that.
Just watch one of my live streams on the weekend.
He's one of my best pupils that you'll ever see. When it comes to retardation, that is. But yeah, he'll never pass his master though. Yeah. Or as he likes to call me, Daddy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Daddy. Anyway, but yes, like, people need to like actively choose to not do this, like do whatever it is, because if you're saying I'm going to prevent you from being able to do things by using the letter of the law, well, they're going to just turn around and do it on you. Neither of those things is good. This should be well
Mhm.
known. For some reason it's not.
Yeah, again, why spite mine enemies is not a good moral foundation for any of this discussion. This is one of those things where you do genuinely have to convince people that first you have to convince people that this is something that we shouldn't be messing with. Like there are negative consequences to this. It's not good for society. I don't care what you like how like there are certain things about it that just aren't great. There you can point to certain, mental health effects, you can point to the way it has, destroyed relationships, you can point to the human trafficking parts of it that aren't very good either.
You can point to the fact that Collective Shout has no problems with cuties, but has problems with
Yeah.
video games that don't have any underage kids in them.
Mhm. Or, anime and manga that are a little too lewd at times.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing is that when it comes to fictional representation, Collective Shout has a lot of problems with it. Whether it be manga, anime, video games, a book that's or a book that's fiction, yada yada yada, all those types of things, they go bonkers over. But legitimate like kid exploitation, freaking actual like cuties and type of stuff like that.
The
Because
director of Cuties having 650 kids twerking in front of him for auditions.
I was about to say is like the volume of kids that actually did very questionable things, um, and being recorded for it makes you wonder about these upright people who are morally outraged about these types of things. And it's like, it'd be better if they were not morally outraged and held these beliefs than it is to be morally outraged and then hold these beliefs. Because at least you understand that they're just messed in the head. Now they're just psychotic, like on another scale. Because it's like, hey, well, what do you guys think about, actual child exploitation? And they're like, well, is it in a video game? Is it in a movie? Is it? And it's like, they don't
Is it
care.
something that men enjoy?
I ate cereal today. Child exploitation. It's like, no, I just
Literally
no,
Hitler.
literally.
Oh my
And Matt
god.
and I went over to the Collective Shout, like foundation or the group that works with Collective Shout, and we were like looking through all the women and everything. There's one guy, and he looks as gay as the day is sunny, and all the women were hideous except for one. She was actually passable, but Matt and I disagree on what's good attractive, which I'm like, well, yeah, attractiveness is subjective, but that's why you have character
I saw a
creation.
couple of their profile pictures. I didn't really do a deep dive into the people there, and I was just like, mid. Okay.
Mid's a compliment to these women. Let's put it that way. Most of them are pretty disgusting, and
Ew.
sadly, they got the bad Asian representation. They didn't get the good
Yeah.
Asian representation.
I Either way, I don't think that that has really any like relevance to their awful opinions
It
on
doesn't,
literally anything.
but
Like
part of
that.
me
That's
was
just a
part of
side note.
when Matt and I covered it. Part of me was like, this would explain why they have a problem with guys liking this stuff because then guys aren't paying attention to them. That or they don't get laid enough.
Oh, I think they also helped like get a woman who was accused of sexually assaulting a young boy out of the country. Collective shout.
I'm not surprised anymore. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing
Because
good
because she
coming
was a
from
part
Collective
of
Shout that I can
Korea's
see.
4B movement, if I remember correctly. Yeah. There's so much wrong with this.
And in
And
that situation, the government should have stepped in and taken care of it because someone is being victimized. Not
yeah,
victimized like, oh, they looked at me and they had like a crude look in their eye. No, 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 no.
a
Like you're
construction
blatantly
worker whistled at me as I walked by their site.
no, 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 no. We don't do that here. But like, when it comes to actual assault of the sexual or other kinds, people are like, well, you can't use the law for that. I'm like, well, why not? That's what the law's specifically for. It's to protect its citizens. It's to protect those who cannot protect themselves. This is normal. So trying to argue that and Matt and I have this disagreement because like we both agree that government having more powers always bad, but I also think, well, like even if you weren't to argue about should you give them power over like stop killing games or something, well, guess what? Consumer rights already exist. They're just not being enforced. So for them to enforce the consumer rights, they are having more power than they did before the consumer rights were there. But they're not doing what they should have done, which means that there should not be any more laws attached to it, but they're still attaching them. So it's Matt and I disagree, although we're on the same page for the most part of it. But I'm like, if they're not doing their job to protect their constituents from people who are trying to exploit their constituents, which is what the gaming publishers are doing, they're blatantly exploiting gamers and consumers. They're saying, I can make this game and you can buy it, and then I can just stop giving you what I told you I'd give you. But like, I mean, any other contract, if I said, Crimson, come build me a house, and then you're like 99.9% done, you have to go put this little slot on the wall and you're done, and I'd be like, oh, actually, we're canceling the contract, and since you didn't finish the job, I'm not going to pay you anything. I mean, that would be kind of outrageous. Now, on the flip side, let's say you get to the 99% job and they're like, all right, we're about to finish it. Oh, I've run out of supplies. I guess I'm going to have to tear the entire house down, and I'm going to leave you with a lot that you can't use. That's literally what a publisher is going to do. They're going to rip it from underneath your feet. That's something where there is an actual victim. I paid because the contract said, I will give you X amount of money for X product, and that's our transaction. The publisher's like, well, no, I have the ability to do this. I don't even necessarily like when they shut people's internet aspects off. I think they can possibly say, okay, well, you were cheating in a game and you're not allowed to access our official lobbies or something, but you wouldn't like shut them out of custom lobbies or something. Because if they want to go with all the other guys who've been canned, let them have their fun. I don't know what fun there is in cheating in a game, because then you're not actually playing the game. You have no actual skill. Nobody's going to look at you and say, oh, wow, he's so great. Like, nobody's going to do that because you're not good. And then I think somebody was saying that there were people on like Twitch and whatnot that were blatantly, openly modding their games, showing all the mods they have and cheating in games, and they're not getting canned. And it's like, but why? Because it's favoritism. These people draw people into their game and make them aware of the game. But I would say it's bad publicity, because then people say, well, why would I play this game if I'm just going to get surrounded by people like you who are just modding to the infinity, and I can't actually like play the game? Because if you've ever played a game with somebody who cheats and they're invulnerable, or you're shooting at where their image is, but their actual body's somewhere else because of lag switching or something, it's not fun. It's a miserable experience, and people stop playing games for that, or that stop playing that game for that particular reason. It's a miserable experience. So it's bad for the gaming companies, but they don't care because they want the prestige. They want people to say, "Oh, I'll go buy this game for $40, $50, $60, $70, whatever the case may be." And then once they've bought it, they're not going to get a refund unless you're on Steam and you got 2 hours. But that's the kind of thing. But I ultimately, the morality and legality thing is a little bit hairy, because there are specific things like murder, fraud, yada yada, that are
There
covered
are
as a morality and a legality.
there are
Because
nuances to it,
yeah,
definitely. I'm
but
not
then
going to deny that.
but there
It
are
requires a lot of specificities.
there's a lot of things in between, like how many ice cream cones you could stack on your free. Like, I think there was one thing in Tennessee, I'm trying to remember, it had to do with ice cream, where if you did something with ice cream and did something else, like if you read a book and like ate ice cream at the same time, it was a crime. And it's like, the stupid
There
laws like that exist. They
there were
legit
once
do.
like laws on the books against like a woman over 200 pounds isn't allowed to ride a horse on Sunday.
Yeah, which I mean, for the horse's safety. But I mean, to be fair, 200-pound guys, pretty normal on a horse for that.
I was
But
about to say I'm over 200 pounds easy. So
I'm at 200 pounds, so yeah. Let me see if I can find
I mean, either way, it's again, you can't regulate an entire country into morality. Morality is something that people have to fucking choose.
Here you go. Holding hands in school is illegal in 2012 in Tennessee.
Hmm.
They defined that holding hands in a school as a gateway to sexual activities. Parents can sue
I
teachers
didn't
who break the.
realize that America actually got invaded by the Japanese during World War II. Holy shit.
Well, I mean, yeah, that we would definitely notice an incline or a decline in population from that. Sharing Netflix passwords is illegal. Posting images online that cause emotional distress is legal. But here's the thing: who determines distress? Like, I can be like, it's Crimson's face. I am in distress.
I don't blame you for that one.
I, what are they going to say? Well, it's not that bad. It's like Picasso, but it's not that bad. Like, it's like, what about someone's face is causing you distress? What about, like, I can think of way more. Like, I would be more distressed over people smoking a cigarette because it makes me want to throw up. But gathering and consuming roadkill is illegal. Shooting game other than whales from a moving automobile is illegal. The law is specific to automobiles and does not include bicycles and motorcycles.
I'm just imagining some dude like biking through the forest, like pedaling his heart out, one-handing a rifle as he's chasing like a 8-point buck or something
No, no,
like
no,
that.
no. A whale. A whale. There's no freaking oceans in Tennessee. Selling hollow logs is illegal. The law aims at protecting innocent citizens from unscrupulous log dealers who target innocent clients. Just pick the log up. Can you pick it up too easily? It's probably hollow. More than 8 women may not live in the same house. Well, that's probably for their safety. But,
Damn it! I was going for my fucking 100 girlfriends who really,
oh
really,
wow!
really, 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 really love me.
In Tennessee, there are no sorority houses for women. It is illegal for 8 women to live in the same house because they emit excessively high estrogen levels. There's actual sourcing to this too, which is kind of crazy. It is illegal for women to approach men suggestively.
That's probably like an anti-prostitution law, right there.
It's aimed at preventing illegal prostitution or any uncouth female behavior. It's like, well, don't go to the bar then. Advertising, fortune telling in the city of Knoxville is illegal. The law attracts a fine of $144.50. So specific. Or that's Kentucky though, isn't it? Is Fort Knox in Kentucky or no, Knoxville? I'm thinking is Knoxville? I thought Knoxville was Kentucky, or is there a Knoxville both? They might have the same city.
I know there's 2 towns in the United States named Sandwich. So
Participating in a duel may not hold a public office. Frogs croaking after 11 p.m. is a noise ordinance violation in Memphis.
what would the government? What would we do without the
What are you gonna do?
government?
Sue the frogs?
No, you don't understand.
No, they
What
just
would
turn them
we
gay.
do without the government
Protecting us from
preventing
frogs
the
croaking.
frogs from croaking?
They're gonna arrest the frogs. Stealing a horse is punishable by hanging. Okay, that's not a crazy one.
I mean,
that should be
probably
pretty much
comes
all.
from like a very, very old day.
Well, it's this law is outdated but still enforceable. My point is that should just be stealing in general, but that's a beside the point. Carrying skunks in the state of Tennessee is legal. It's to prevent diseases from entering the state. What, farts? The sales of tomato canned soup went up through the city.
Well, no, I mean, I'm assuming we're talking about wild skunks here, and all wild animals carry diseases.
Well, yes, but they also
How it
fart on you.
goes.
Playing pinball requires being 18 years old in Nashville. Them corners, man, they're gonna get you. Interracial marriages are illegal. I doubt that's active currently. There's definitely interracial married couples in Tennessee. It is illegal to buy or sell. Well, that's already done that one. It is illegal to own a raccoon as a pet in Tennessee. It is illegal to share passwords. You already did that one. Illegal to import, possess, or sell live skunks. That's for
They
rabies.
really hate them skunks, dude.
They do, and all animals apparently. Apparently, the other reason they make it illegal for more than 8 women to be in the same house is it's used by law enforcement to identify drug houses. 8 guys, no drugs here. 8 women, there's drugs, boys.
Hey guys, no drugs here, just a load of homosexuals.
The other word, though.
All right, gentlemen. All right, gentlemen, carry on your butt
Carry on.
fucking.
It's gonna be like sodomy is totally legal, but normal sex, that's illegal.
That sounds like some like weird dystopian future ecchi series.
I mean, aren't you watching one currently that's kind of like that?
I have no words for that series.
I want to hear them though. Not in this stream, but afterwards maybe. But yeah, there's so much crazy, just nonsense of moral grandstanding and whatnot. It's like, okay, yeah. Having morals, by all means, that's the good thing. But trying to, instead of convincing someone like you shouldn't do this because it's bad for you, instead of doing that, they're like, I'm gonna make it so you can't do this thing. And then they're just gonna go do it, but they're gonna do it in secrecy. It's the same thing as it's like, let's say Illinois bans the use of the F word. I mean, everyone's toast in that regard, but let's say they ban it. You're going to have people building soundproof basements just so they can scream the F word to get it out of their system. Like, it's going to happen regardless. They just swat you and break in and police, or better yet, the Oblivion, halt criminal scum. Like, it's just like, you can't stop bad behavior by legalizing it out of existence unless you're going the extra mile and hanging, beheading, going the extreme Hammurabi style to get rid of those criminal excesses. And even then, it'll still exist, just on a much minor scale. But like, you can't stop it by just saying, I want you to stop doing it, and I have a gun to add to that, like, aka government authority.
Hey, you. Yeah,
okay,
you.
I can tell you're from Illinois as you do the gun sideways.
I was doing it in the most like unintelligent gun user sort of thing I could ever.
Wow, that's pretty racist of you.
Well, I was doing like a mobster accent the whole way.
No.
Too.
Mobsters have too much respect for guns. You got to do this properly. Capiche?
Anyway, it's just hey, you.
Nice to meet you.
Stop looking at that magazine.
Well, actually, I mean, they were pretty pro-family, honestly. But it's one of those crazy things. It's like the mob would actually like legitimately keep people from like stealing. They would keep the area clean. They wouldn't let drugs in. They wanted families because they recognized that families are successful. Like the nuclear family, traditional family is successful, and success brings cash. Cash brings income. Income means more control, more territory, more guys on your payroll, that kind of a thing. And they took better care of you than the government did. Government just doesn't like competition.
They actually dealt with criminals, you know?
Yeah. Not necessarily like the movies make them see it, but they would beat somebody up and kick them out and say, if you come back here, we'll get more of it. People didn't come back because they're pretty brutal. Sicilians are notorious for very brutal violence. AKA, if you go to Sicily, stay in the tourist attraction areas, unless you're from Sicily or like Sicilian, like I am or something.
Like, I think it should be policy that if you go to someone else's country, you should maybe respect their laws and culture. That's just me.
That's ridiculous. You bigot. It's crazy talk. But yes. So again, moral of the story, pun intended. Legality and morality are not the same thing. They can have overlaps, but you shouldn't try to legalize a moral choice on somebody that they need to actually choose to stop on their own, or they're just going to keep doing it and you're just not going to know about it. But then again, on the other side, some places glorify certain things like drag queens with kids or pedophilia with kids.
I don't think you can have pedophilia without kids.
I'm trying to lay the kids term a bit more questionable because some technically are not quite there yet. Trying to keep it more PG. You've already screwed that up with your big F-bomb earlier.
There ain't nothing PG about this conversation.
You know what?
Okay?
I'm gonna make it illegal for you specifically to never swear again. they'll be kicking in your door. Yeah. No middle fingers either. It's like I heard that and I saw that.
Funny thing is I didn't say or do anything. I just turned the camera
You
on and
have
off.
no evidence of that, good sir. That's the best part. you you are
I,
guilty
I,
before proven innocent.
hey, for all you know, I could be pulling a Nick Recato right now.
Nah, you don't have that luck with women.
I'm talking about the thing that doesn't require any women around.
Which one? You're gonna have that down a little bit.
Here, let me just do this one.
Wasn't that the both one?
No, that was when he thought he had ended the stream and ended up touching himself on stream.
I thought that was the one where the
Yeah.
girl was underneath the desk. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. He fell hard, man. I enjoyed his stuff until he went off the deep end, and I was just like,
Curse of the Sancho medallion. All right, is there anything else we need to touch on, or are we going to wrap up here?
I think we're gonna wrap up. I don't think people come here for entertainment. They come here for news, seriousness, a legit establishment.
Not us being clowns the whole time,
I'm here to have fun. They can be here for whatever reason they want. I'm here for fun. And to inform people, I'm going to make it illegal for you to make things illegal based off of your morality.
I'm going to make it illegal for you to make things illegal, for you to make things illegal, for you to make things illegal.
But wouldn't that make it illegal for you to make things illegal?
Fuck.
I should just edit it right there. but no, yeah. So, you got anything coming up, good sir? Keep in mind, this is not going to come out until next week. So,
not really. The only things I will advertise
Saturday.
is, well, Monday. You can find me over at Biggles Mats. We talk anime on Monday nights.
That's gonna be go back in retro time, guys, because this is gonna be the next week. So we're recording this early because I won't be
Wednesday.
here.
I do the Crimson News Network, where I talk about anime, manga, general like weeb stuff, news, and like straight like real world coverage and stuff like that.
As opposed to gay coverage.
No.
You said
Well,
straight.
sometimes
You said straight coverage. So like as opposed to the opposite.
Sometimes I do have to cover that kind of stuff, but that's another subject for another time. And then Saturday, of course, I spend all night Saturday night talking about the weekly anime releases for the season. And I'm watching like 36 anime. If you want any updates on any of them, or just like to kind of see what my opinions are on them or what they're about, that's the show where I do it. Otherwise, I release regular short videos discussing a particular anime and why I do or don't like it. And they're usually the ones that are coming out. Yeah. They're usually ones that are coming out over the season. I do have a few other like big things planned, but I don't have a specific release date for them, so I'll just leave it at that. And otherwise, you can follow me at Crimson Lawson on Twitter, because that's where I post a lot of other retardation.
That too. Yes. And also you can check out his YouTube channel and his Twitter for updates on any particular good news that might be coming out from his. I know it's rare, but his Saturday Night Lives are really, really fun, even if you don't know anything about what he's talking about, because that's what I go on there for. And he's like, I'm watching all this new stuff. I'm like, I have 570 anime to watch. I don't have time to watch new stuff.
Yeah, you could just come and heckle me if that's what you feel like.
Just be like Rolo, be like, you're just gay. Heckle him. But yeah, and don't forget to smash that like button when you're on his Saturday Night Live stuff. But yeah, because I'll say that if I'm there. But yes, check out his stuff. He's a cool dude. He's in the description, as he is literally for every video, even when he's not here. And also check out Unbearable 73, which is Matt's channel, also in the description. And if you like wrestling, he does stuff on Wednesdays. And if you want to see him on Thursdays at Roman of the Empire's channel, they talk about pop culture stuff, movies, books, that kind of stuff. And he's a bit more political than I am. Today was a very odd one for politics, but it's more of a just don't moral grandstand politics, because it's not a good look for anybody, period. But yes, government is usually bad as a basic function. But yes, that's about as deep as I get into politics here. But and I have to go, drive Crimson insane with philosophy takes. But
Oh god.
but wait, there's more. But yes, for me, you have Sunday big video. This is actually a big video for a Friday video, but big videos on Sunday with Matt and or Sage, but usually Matt as of late. Tuesdays I do live streams at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I have considered moving them earlier so I can either have more time or I could just shift it so it's not up as late because I'm usually up till 3 in the morning if I do that. But I can also shift it to where I'm starting at 7 and going till 3 or something like it doesn't take much for me to go for a gaming streak. I haven't done it in a long time, so doing it every Tuesday is kind of my breath of fresh air. But yeah, that's on Tuesdays, and then on Fridays and Sundays are both at noon. The videos drop Central Standard Time. So this will be a Friday release. So you'll obviously know that because it'll be out on Friday. I'll be out of town. That's why we're doing this now. So thanks to Crimson for coming on, good sir. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Gay anime. But
No, there's only one gay anime that I'm watching this season.
Citrus?
No, it's called The Summer Hikaru Died.
Sounds pretty gay. But anyway, I don't know what that is. But just most of the animes you mentioned, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But
well, most of them are brand new, so
yeah, I wait until the whole season's out before I jump in anything. But yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out. Check out MetaPCs to support those guys since they support our corner of the universe of YouTube. Use code 199 to get a detail or a special discount of some sort off of it. You can support the Geeks and Gamers guys in the process. I don't make anything off of this. They don't actually sponsor me. I just like them, so I will support them because I do that. And I've been thinking about adding to that list, and it's going to be a very long description box by the time I'm done with it. Also, check out ayakamods. Go to ayakamods.cc for their website or DEG Mods. Both of those guys are great. DEG's pretty cool dudes. You see them on Twitter, and they've commented on videos stuff before. And I hope they keep the good work, and they've got some grandiose plans that one day maybe I'll be able to be a part of, even though I don't really have much to bring to the table. But it'd be nice to support them. Either way, you can support these guys, including this cool dude, Crimson, and that's supporting me by you supporting them, since I don't have enough money to support people. But you can go support them. Throw $5 for a membership at Crimson and Matt or something. I don't know.
hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff. Do it, or I'll steal your dog. Okay?
He's pretty much going to extort you just like Epic Mike will.
Yes.
With his one sugar foot. Anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out. If you made it this long, I know this is a little longer than I was originally intending it, but conversations are more fun that way. Planning things out usually makes you miss all the good stuff. So thanks everybody for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next one. So remember, my friends, walk in the light.